Here's one about my grandma's crazy, abusive stepmom. My grandma is a tiny 4 feet 10 inches woman. Nicest person I know. Compassionate, incredibly humble. Mom tells me it's because she grew up with a literal wicked stepmother. Described her as evil. Mom grew up around her too. I asked Grandma about this one day. She tells me that her stepmother was very abusive. Apparently Grandma's dad traveled for work. He'd be gone for weeks at a time. During that time, her stepmom would put Grandma through hell. Grandma proceeds to tell me the following story. When she was still a little girl, her stepmom told her that she had a severed head, hidden away somewhere. This severed head could talk, and it told stepmom secrets. Stepmom told Grandma that if Grandma ever lied or misbehaved, the head would rat her out. Naturally, Grandma grew up nervous about doing anything bad. Stepmom would ask her to do the most insane shit and Grandma would just do it, no questions asked. One example she gave was that her stepmom asked her to walk 10 miles away to retrieve water from a creek in a little container. Stepmom laid down some rules. Grandma wasn't allowed to set the container of water down anywhere. And she couldn't drink any of it. And she couldn't take any of her own water either. So basically Grandma had to walk 10 miles in the blistering heat, then 10 miles straight back, all without any water and all without stopping to rest, or she'd technically be setting the water down. And she had to do this all for a little bit of water even though they had a water well out behind her house. Stepmom would always be waiting by the well for Grandma to get home. Sometimes she beat her, sometimes she didn't. Didn't matter how perfectly Grandma followed instructions. But she could always tell when a beating was coming because stepmom would be pacing by the well, looking agitated. She'd claim the head told me what you did. And beat the fuck out of Grandma for no reason. As she got a little older, Grandma started developing a spine, asserting herself a bit more. Stepmom responded by telling her the story about how she got the severed head. Said it belonged to her ex-husband. Stepmom slit his throat one night while he was sleeping. To avoid suspicion from her neighbors, she slashed her own arms and legs. Blamed her husband's death on a group of bandits, claiming they tortured them both. Stepmom showed Grandma the scars where she'd cut herself. Said that if Grandma didn't act right, she'd make another severed head out of her dad. And maybe one out of you. Grandma ran out of the house crying. Stepmom laughing like a maniac as she ran off. Grandma ended up in the woods. She sat under a tree for a long time, crying, until she wore herself out and fell asleep. When she woke up it was after dark. She'd been there for hours. She got up and hurried home. She gets closer to the house, she's quiet so as not to wake stepmom. She's slowly approaching the water well behind the house when she hears two voices. Can't really hear them at first. Eases closer and can just make out stepmom standing by the water well. Sounds like she's talking to someone, but Grandma doesn't see anyone there. There's definitely another voice though, which Grandma doesn't recognize. But her first thought is, she's talking to the head. In Grandma's mind, the head knows everything. And it's the main reason she's terrified of stepmom. So she panics at first, thinking the head knows she's there, eavesdropping, and that it's going to tell her stepmom. But apparently that doesn't happen. So Grandma keeps listening. Stepmom keeps talking, the other voice answers. Stepmom's just asking a bunch of weird questions that don't make much sense. The voice speaks really slow and has a deep voice. Grandma is suddenly curious about what it looks like. She tries to get closer. But all she can see is the well, and stepmom's silhouette in the dark. Then the other voice says clearly, "Someone is listening." Grandma freezes. Stepmom's silhouette ducks quickly down behind the well. It pops back up and looks around. Then hurries away towards the house and disappears inside. Grandma stays perfectly still for a long time. She's worried that her stepmom might be secretly watching from the house. But she's also thinking that it looks like she put something down on the ground before she left. She thinks she left the head behind. After a long while of standing still, Grandma slowly begins approaching the well, crawling along the ground. She reaches the well and her hands feel a strange patch of grass. She feels around. It's a pile of dead grass and leaves. It's covering something. Grandma feels around some more. There's a small handle underneath. She tugs at it. A door lifts up. It's a secret compartment in the soil. Down in the ground, about 2 feet deep, is a wooden box. Grandma thinks this is what she keeps the head in. She's almost afraid to touch it, but she lifts it out of the ground. It's very heavy. Places it down on the ground next to her. She actually whispers, "Hello?" thinking it might answer, but nothing happens. She wants to look inside but can't bring herself to. She decides she's going to get rid of this evil thing. Still worried that her stepmom might be watching, Grandma crawls on her hands, keeping to the shadows. She lugs the heavy box behind her as she goes until she's a good distance from the house. She remembers a huge empty tree trunk that she passed in the woods earlier and decides it's a good place to dump the thing. She hurries into the woods as fast as she can, carrying this heavy box, and dumps it into the hollow tree trunk. Then she slowly makes her way back home. When she gets there, her stepmom is wide awake, sitting at the table. She asks Grandma where she's been. Grandma tells the truth, "I fell asleep in the woods." Usually stepmom either flies into a rage or threatens to ask the severed head if she's lying. But instead she just orders Grandma to bed. The next night, Grandma sneaks out of the house. Returns to the tree trunk where she stashed the box and retrieves it. Sets it on fire. Makes sure it's totally burned before she heads back. The next morning, her stepmother can't get out of bed. Grandma checks on her and finds her face looks warped. Said it looked sideways, like her mouth was entirely on one side of her face. After that, stepmom was always very frail. The severe beatings pretty much stopped. Grandma was never sure if there was actually a head inside the box. She never found any bones when she burned it. But I know what I heard at the well, and she wasn't alone out there.
Be good friends with a guy in high school. He's more of a shy type, doesn't speak up often, kept to himself. Let's name him Tao. Always aced every test, but that wasn't surprising since he looked Asian. Was a bit more close to him than the others. I'm sure I was the only one in his phone list. We chatted sometimes over school, but he legitimately wrote autistic. Rubbed a bit off on me. But he was always a very friendly person. He wouldn't make fuss or drama in class or tried to diffuse it. Honestly just a model student, the nerd in the class, didn't play video though. One thing was strange about him, his skull was very oddly shaped. He always had a long bob cut to hide this, but I glimpsed and saw his skull when gusts of wind catched him. He literally looked like one of those Mayan aliens. It was obvious he tried to hide it, I mean who wouldn't? Otherwise looked pretty normal from the front. Pic related is a crudely draw-sided profile, as best as I remember it. Fast forward a few years. Graduation. In my country everyone has a graduation vacation. Like going to a vacation island and getting drunk. Whole class plans to go to a resort, and I asked him if he wanted to go. He says he already made plans to visit an island himself and casually drops that his parents are dead. I've asked him where he wanted to go, and he was a bit defensive like he lied about going there. Said it was named Galapagos. I'm still not sure if he meant Galapagos, because Galapagos doesn't exist. I wished him the best and said he should send me some pics, which I didn't expect. Really thought he just didn't have enough money to go on our trip and wanted to look cool going to an island himself. Fast forward, some more after graduation, already went on my graduation vacation and was at home chilling. Suddenly receive a video from him. Till today I don't know what to make of this video. He doesn't say anything, and he's going through some kind of forest. He seems to look at something in the distance, and the video cuts without any warning. He also didn't respond anymore after that. And the number seems dead by now. I would upload the vid, but I somehow want to censor his face, cause I don't really know if that's appropriate since he was always very shy of camera. I will however include one frame of the vid. Sorry if this story was boring, I just still wonder about him, mostly because of his interesting appearance.
I'll post this one since innawoods is dead. Be me alone deep in a woods. Trying to find a nice place to set up camp for the night. Already on edge because alone. See nice flat clearing in distance. Get closer and see a bunch of rocks in a huge pile, also some wood stacked up with metal bars around it. This is strange, these rocks were all put here by someone, they are stacked nicely. Wonder to myself, maybe some locals camp here often. Look around more and see this on the ground, pick related. What in the fuck? Start to hear branches cracking behind me. Okay, this isn't any crack crack crack. It's getting louder, unsling rifle from my back, fix bayonet. Hello? Who is it? Show yourself. Cracking is getting faster and close to me. Nope, the fuck out of there. I run as quickly as I can. The further away I get, the cracking of branches gets faint and distant. Don't look back and keep on running. Find another clearing in a meadow nearby, stay up most of the night smoking my pipe around the fire, back to tent, gun in hand.
When I was quite young, probably 8 or younger, I was up in the middle of the night. Don't remember if I was unable to sleep or woken up. Look down the hall that goes past the stairs and the bathroom, sister's room, and I can see roughly 1/3 of parents' room. Don't feel particularly off or strange. From the left, where the stairs would be around the corner, a square grid of floating lights appears. It's probably around 20x20 little lights, not blinding but very noticeable. They all jump in a pattern, from front to back, taking like a second to all be in motion. The jumps are like slow motion or very low gravity. They land in mid-air, stopping abruptly. That's how they seem to move. They go past my door, into my sister's room. Nothing happens for a few seconds. They emerge again and move towards my parents' room. Takes them about 10 seconds to do the 4-meter journey in probably 3 jumps. Don't know what they're doing and I'm worried for family and scared of the things by now. They reappear in the doorway. Their jumps are directly at my room now. As they get near, I do the kiddish thing and go under the blanket. Next thing I know, it's daytime. Now I don't remember the details so well since it happened over a decade ago when I was young, but what happened was I either closed my eyes and it went to daytime without me even sleeping, which had happened before but without the light things, or I just got put to sleep from passing out from fear or something. I just have never heard of a paranormal story like it, and years later learned that sleep paralysis is a thing and chalked it up to that, but that never fully satisfied me as an explanation. I'd appreciate similar stories or references to what it could be.
I don't remember everything and it's a great chance the story is a LARP, but it was something like this. Dude gets recruited into some military division that deals with the supernatural. He is sent together with some other guys in some sort of prison in Iran or Iraq. They go down some tunnels underground. They find a huge room with a massive hooded figure chained by its legs and arms. They talk with it and some people go insane. The ones that went mad are killed.
It's nothing special, and arguably pointless without the pics, but I'm going to post it to keep the thread bumped. Member of forum back in about 2005. Everyone is aged around 14 to 25 and we know each other IRL because we all go to the same club. It's a music forum for a really niche genre that's played locally. Fewer than 20 members are from further than about 30 miles away. Despite it being niche and local, it's surprisingly popular. There's a few hundred people browsing the forums at any one time. Anyway, there's non-music forums for things like just general chat, hobbies, computers, that kind of thing. Go in the computer section one day and some member has bought a new webcam. This is 2005, so it's not UHD 4K like it is now, it's the kind that are grainy and the motion is choppy. He fucks around with it to get used to it. Says he set it up in his living room to try out the camera, not video camera, static camera, function. Has some little meme on it where it takes 4 pics, one every 0.5 seconds or so. Sets it up running. Leaves the room because his dad shouts of him. Comes back and it's still running. Stops it and checks the pics. Posts them. See him at computer. Him walking out of the room. Then there's just the room on its own, you can see the door, window, and a clothes horse. Majority of the pics are just the empty room. Then on 2 of the pics there's this shape that sort of looks like a flying fox, but smaller, totally black, with undefined blurry edges. Just hovering in the middle of the room in front of the clothes horse. Then it's gone and the pic's resume with him walking back in and sitting down. Asks anyone if they have any idea what it is. Tell him to GTFO. A couple of weeks later he mentions he's moving and never posts again. As I said, it's shit without the pics, but it was really bizarre. The worst part is that I had the pics saved on an old computer and the forum only just closed a little while ago, so now I have no chance of ever finding them again.
Well, here I go. Be me. Be a merry mutt, Irish ancestry. My grandpa from the old country says he will tell me a story. He's a couple shots and pints of the black stuff deep. Comes real close to my face and says, "What do you know about leprechauns?" MFW, I know he's shitting me. I saw one, you know. Yeah, sure. I was walking in the woods of Kilkenny, when I turned a corner on the trail. Standing there, was a leprechaun, staring at me like he was waiting for me. His clothes were worn and torn, and green from mold, and his hair and beard were matted. MFW, I realize he is not shitting me. The look on his face says it all. I say hello, BC, I didn't know what else to do. My grandpa then tells me the leprechaun said to him, "Your toes." With no accent. MFW, when my grandpa says this with zero humor or sarcasm, only fear. MFW, when my heavily accented Irish grandpa gives the leprechaun an American accent. What? My grandpa said to him. "Your toes. Hand them over." I don't know how. Then, my grandpa proceeds to describe the leprechaun waddling towards him faster than he could react and forcing him to the ground with seemingly magical leprechaun strength before unsheathing his 18-inch long, spiked leprechaun dick, longer than half his leprechaun body, and struggle snuggling my grandfather in the woods. Has anyone had any experiences like this?
I just have a short little story that happened recently. It's not really exciting enough to Greentext though. I was tree planting for a job in northern Ontario, at a Atikokan region. I'm laying in my tent not able to fall asleep, and I hear basically a symphony of whistling. I'm into music theory a little, and I think it was an overtone scale, like what polyphonic singers will do, or some Mongolian throat singing. Anyway, I listened to it for a while. I was tempted to leave my tent and investigate, but I chickened out for some reason. There was literally nothing in the camp that would make that sound.
I'll post again, cause why not? Be me. About 1 a.m. at a club in Vegas. Hot ass dame comes up to me. We start dancing, drinking. After a while we decide to back to her place. Walk in the door making out and shit. Dick totally hard. Make our way to the bedroom. Get each other undressed. Oh yeah, sex time. Gif. About to do it, then my dick was like, "Bro, condom." And I was like, "Good call, dick, don't know how nasty she is, don't need my lil buddy sick." Flip on the lights to find condom. Look back at her after I find condom. Look at her cooter, cause why not? Riddled with red nasty dots like pimples. Not regular shaving pimples, I mean nasty ass cold sore infected ass disease looking motherfucking pimples. Nope. I gotta use the bathroom. Luckily I had underwear on. Close her door, grab my pants which were in hallway right outside bedroom. Fuck the shirt. Dip the fuck out. Never see her, nasty ass STD girl again. Thank you Dick for saving me and yourself. You people wanted a nope story, well there's mine.
Here's my very recent, and fairly expensive nope story. Moved into new rental home with waifu, 3 years lease. First day we bring stuff over but we don't stay, left the dog in there for security, German Shepherd trained. Second day we bring the bed and TVS. We open the door, dog splits, he noped the fuck out as soon as we open the door. A trained dog doesn't do that. Spend half the day looking for Coleman, my dog, and left the waifu alone to unpack and clean and shiz. Got back to the house, and she was waiting outside. She says, moaning, crying in the bedroom, maybe a homeless person. Grab baseball bat and hand her our .38 pistol. Get to the door and see Coleman had been clawing at the door rather fiercely, chewed the door sill too. Open door, yell, jump in. Nothing. Windows locked, room empty. Check the attic, crawl space, empty. The whole house, clean and empty. No sign of squatters or break-in. Wife ready to know back to her mom's. I'm ready to crash, tired from a long day. It's 7 p.m, dark outside. Faint moaning from the bedroom. Defuke.jpg. I open the door, spooked a bit. Empty, no sounds. We walk back to the living room to discuss. Moaning louder now. Aw shit. Mumbling, people talking, can't make out words or language. Argument, moaning, crying, slap, slap, foot stomping, crying. Nope. Door slams. We slam the front door on the way out. Try to get a refund from owner. Says no, you signed the contract. He keeps deposit, first month rent, and I still owe him for breaching contract early, about $900. Back to mom's place. Grown-ass man spooked out of his new home. Nice. Still nope.
This probably is the thread for it, but it's all spoopy ghost related, no cryptids or really sightings of anything. It was just things that happened and what people experienced. To cover even a few of them would span multiple posts, and I know people aren't really interested in them, so I won't bother. It was a house some relatives lived in like 30 plus years ago, and other people who lived in the house, before and after, experienced similar things happen to them. I visited the house while they lived there, but I was less than a year old, so I can't remember any of it. Either way, it became a bit of a legend within the family, and we still discuss it from time to time. Everyone, from those with first-hand memories, experiences of it, to those my own age who have no memories and younger who don't even know where the house is. Even the skeptics of anything related in the family are very dubious when it comes to the house and don't like to talk about it. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is because the house still stands and someone lives in it, and I know where it is obviously. I know people from the area still, and none of them have ever mentioned spooky shenanigans regarding it. But at the same time, no one mentioned them when my relatives lived there either. Anyway, my point is that since the spook explorations are becoming more and more popular, me and my 2 brothers would love to have a little seance in the house, because none of us had experiences, at least not ones we can remember, there because of how young we were at the time. But how do I go about asking some stranger to let us into their house without mentioning something that they seemingly have no knowledge of, without making it sound like an elaborate plot to conduct a home invasion? I thought maybe I could write them a letter and ask them to email me back, but I don't want to start putting the shits up people for no good reason. Can any friends help?
Couple of weeks ago. Around 10 p.m., out in the kitchen making sandwiches. I'm standing 3 meters away from the fridge at the kitchen bench. The fridge is to the right, slightly behind me. Slobbering the sandwiches in peanut butter, then jam, then turning around to put the jam in the fridge. I see this woman, middle-aged, slightly round, with her face in a bun. She looks terrified, forms her face to a scream, pulls up her arms and disappears. I'm just about to shit the Chinese wall, sit down at the table and try to comprehend what just happened. I have no idea still. There's no deaths as far as I know in this house.
Been itching for more Greentext threads. I don't have a great story, but it's a small contribution nonetheless, and it's yet to be told. This story happened to an old girlfriend of mine from years ago. Story is written from her perspective. We'll write in next post. Pic semi-related, pics I took inside of large holding cell for prisoners at Yuma Territorial Prison, in the same town this story takes place. We'll post a couple more pics just to bump thread. Keep it going, boys. Into the evening, around 9 p.m. Have Friends, American 90s sitcom, running on the TV, autoplay before Netflix asked if you were still watching every 20 minutes, would just keep playing. Talking to friend about whatever on phone, talking about something unrelated when friend out of nowhere says there's a monster next to you. Wouldn't be a big deal but mildly concerned because friend has seemed to have a sensitivity to paranormal things and have known him since beginning of high school. No, he's a joker but not a liar. He is also an apathetic prick when he wants to be, fucking score. Brush it off as friend being dumb but still curious. Confused, I ask what he's taking about, he plays it off as nothing, tell him he's dumb. Hey hook whatever. Wave. Shortly after friend says he has to go, bye, click. Leaves as abrupt as it reads. Feel uneasy after phone call for a minute but tired, so I lay down. Great. At bottom of picture used to be hollow ground, prisoners were held here, together, under the grating. Dad plays locally in a band and, at the time, had sets that end a bit late into the evening. Wake up an hour or two later alone on the couch but something feels strange. The television is completely silent. No, I fell asleep with the volume on, listening to it while I dozed off. Stare at TV in brief confusion while I'm coming out of sleep fog. Seconds later Dad walks in through the door. TV kicks on full 100% volume, scaring the fuck out of both of us. Dad yells at me for watching the TV too loud after fighting off heart attack from walking through the door. Run to TV to turn it down. Go to bed shortly after. TV volume was on low before falling asleep. Remote was lost years ago so it didn't get bumped or muted while sleeping as it did not exist. There is literally no reason for her to make this story up and I, myself, believe it to be a truthful account.
Be me. Late for work. Mumble to myself I need my keys to the tune of Little Dark Age. Clearly hear keys jingling loudly from the closet with the furnace in it. There's a box with spare keys in it there, it also has the brooms and other utility shit basically. I'm in the kitchen, this room is literally 6 feet away. Shout, bro, give me my fucking keys. I thought my little brother was fucking with me. No reply. Keys jingle again, much louder, like someone is shaking them. I stomp in the room while promising to beat his ass. It's empty. Go back to the kitchen. My keys are on the counter where I was eating breakfast, right next to my plate. Run upstairs with keys and find my brother still asleep, out like a light. He calls me a schizo when I explain I heard the keys jingling. It was fucking weird. I was awake doing homework before this so I know it wasn't some dream state. I suspect it to be gnomes as I've had other items go missing and reappear like this, so have my family members but they are not superstitious.
My great aunt tells this story and others in the family corroborated this, not quite horror but damn weird. Great uncle loses his leg. Gets a wooden leg to replace it, buries his actual leg in the backyard wrapped in a blanket or two and inside of a wooden box. Has a good sense of humor about it. Uses the wooden leg to freak out kids that would come over. One day his leg starts itching. The one he's missing. Constant fucking itching, phantom limb shit. Tries to deal with it various ways, nothing works. Weeks of this. So fucking itchy, holy shit, make it stop. Finally exhausts ideas of making it stop. Can't take the itching anymore. Fuck it, I'm digging it up. Digs up his old leg. Box had rotted through. Leg is covered in ants. Those motherfuckers. Blasts all the ants off of it with the hose. Itching stops when he does this. Reburies leg, this time sealed way better. Never bothers him again.
Thanks man, I always thought so. I want to be the OC I want to see in the board, so here's another and I'll post more if I can think of some that fit the criteria here. The old friend of mine. Early teens in Florida. Playing airsoft with friends after school in an open field. Out in the middle of nowhere, it's basically just a field of sand and dirt with some scattered bushes with long thin leaves, I'm shit with plant names, but the things are everywhere in Florida, almost look like the top of palm trees, but the leaves are just long thin single slivers, no branches, all connect in the center, like a pom-pom. They stand about 2 feet high or so. Been playing around for an hour or so. Crouch behind bush to hide and reload. Bush starts shaking violently, not like wind but like someone grabbed the base and just shook the hell out of it. Leaps up to face his attacker. Everyone is just shooting each other like 20 feet away, having a good time. Quickly backs away from the shaking bush, calls friends over. All just silently staring at this spasming bush. There's no wind. After staring at it for a minute in confusion, every other bush in the field starts to do this. Just shaking like fucking hell on a windless day. Everyone feels the wrongness of it at the same time and they haul ass out of there. None of them want to talk about it after. Still doesn't know what the hell that was. Bushes are thin and small, knows it wasn't animals because he could see right into the plants and there was nothing. Has had ghost-type events happen to him at other occasions, but still recalls that as the most unsettling thing that's ever happened to him because it made no sense at all and just felt threatening and wrong.
The tall man in the desert. Go fishing with friend from New Zealand. Fist time night fishing with a boat and like a big lake. We both are excited to possibly catch a huge catfish. Bring weed, liquor to pass the time. At around nightfall we get to a suitably deep bluff and tie our boat off. Catch nothing. In the middle of catching nothing and complaining about it we both start telling each other all of the spooky shit that has happened to us before. Mostly basic shit. I've seen weird lights in the woods and sky before. He saw a giant eel in a lake high in the mountains of New Zealand. It starts getting late and we get more and more intoxicated. He kinda quiets up now, says he's gonna tell me something weird and that I should forget it later. Something tells me when he lived in Australia for 4 years he was in a bad way. Doing hard drugs, being around the wrong people, getting arrested, hits rock bottom and has a breakdown. Decided to sober up by going to a place in the middle of nowhere somewhere in northern Australia. Said he was tired of everything at that point and just wanted to start anew. Drives out into the bush then into true desert, parks his car on a hill overlooking the desert near a few lone trees and shrubs. Said some mountains were off in the distance. Aside from that nothing, only an empty expanse of sand as far as can be seen. He decided it was far enough away. Made camp and a fire. While gathering what little sticks he could it dawned on him how desolate it really is. How far away he really was. Says it was cold during the nights but blistering hot in the day. No protection from the wind during day or night. By the second night a fine layer of sand had already began to cover everything in his car, getting in through only a few cracked windows. Brushes it away from the steering wheel and dash. Today he wanted to catch some food and not rely solely on his cache of cashews, jerky, and trail mix. According to topographical maps there's a stream flowing down from the far side of those mountains. Leaves camp, proceeds to drive into the desert. Finally get to where the stream is. It's mostly dry but has deeper rocky parts that seem to hold water year-round. At the first deep pool he casts into there's cave drawings of ancient battles between gods, of tall figures and huge serpents. There's a real sense of piety and sacredness to this place. Catches 2 Australian bass on lures and a small catfish on a handline left out. Not much but it will have to do. Head back across the desert kicking up a cloud of sand that quickly dissipates behind him. 4 days have passed and no matter how much food or water is drank the feeling of being unsatisfied never leaves, constantly sweating from withdrawals and the heat. No matter how cold or hot it is there isn't a moment of comfort. Days blur into one another when all you do is move from your sleeping bag to your car to pass the time. A weekend friend is really feeling the effects of everything. Says no matter how busy he stayed he could not keep his mind off his withdrawals or keep his mind stable anymore. feels compelled to sit under the tallest tree in his chosen grove while watching the sunrise. Sits in that position all day. Watching the sunset now, he realizes that he did a little better today despite getting sunburned. Is pleased with himself in a weird way. A week and a half into his forced sobriety, spiritual quest was reaching a breaking point. No concept of day and night. Just heat and cold. His time is divided between sleeping and sitting under his tree watching nothing diligently. Sees signs of life that he hasn't seen before. During midday he notices groups of birds periodically flying away from the mountains. Not a single kind either, small finches, blackbirds, beautiful songbirds, even stately storks and herons make their way over his head out of sight. Night falls with no sounds that day. Even the bugs silence themselves seemingly to witness Goatman's test of will. Tonight he feels more aware of his body and perception. He realizes he is more than sunburned than he has ever been. How tired and stiff he is. How dirty he is. And how feeble he feels. Nearly 2 weeks had passed, although Goatman wouldn't know until later. His tree and the horizon line surrounding him were all in the world he could see and interact with. Sand had begun to pile around his edges almost like the land was sucking him in. He jokes to himself, I must make the worst looking sphinx right now lol. Actually laughs out loud. Realized he can perceive sounds again and how silent it is outside of his own head. Is physically feeling terrible and mentally better than he has in a while. A little bit more. A little bit longer. Something's not done yet. He thanks God that it's ending soon. This day was different. He awoke late and missed the sunrise. There's clouds in the sky for first time. They resemble a landscape reflected into the sky. Can feel electricity in the air but no rain or lightning. Clouds leave as soon as they arrived. Shadows become long. Feeling of overwhelming sacredness returns. Sitting at attention now as if waiting to be debriefed by God. There's no chill anymore. No heat either. No wind. In that day's final moments the air itself looked clearer, like it had been opaque before and was finally scrubbed. As the sun set on the horizon waiting to go down, it seemed to have left a thin piece blacked out. A long thin shadow stretches out from that patch. Goatman becomes aware of his heartbeat for the first time in days. It's over? Is it over? He says to himself out loud. Someone inside him broke down or was finally mended. Stands up on shaky legs. Gets the worst pins and needles sensation ever from standing up so fast. As Goatman is glowing in his triumph, the sacred feeling is back stronger than he could have ever imagined. So strong he almost sits down again out of respect. That long shadow is now even longer in the setting sun. Now it's all he can draw his eyes to, all he look at. An exceptionally tall figure walking as if the water appeared on the horizon line. Said there was no dread. No fear. No sense of wrongness or that uncanny valley feeling. Only an air of holiness. Thinks he should leave. Starts packing up camping supplies and gear. Goatman realizes not eating and staring at the sun for a few days isn't ideal for evasive maneuvers. Now a feeling of immense shame overcomes him. What is he doing? How can he leave now? What would be the point of it all if he can't see it through to the end? Am I really afraid of withdrawal man now? After everything I'm still afraid? It can't be. Decides to walk to his tree and watch until it's over. Stands at attention and stares directly at it this time. Not a husk reanimated or a spirit, nothing outwardly malevolent or benevolent. The horizon looks like it's following it now. Seems to be coming closer but at the same time pulling the ground to it. Remains part of the horizon as it nears. Goatman can make it out better now, a tall man totally wrapped in light furs and loose fabrics. Weird proportions. Elbows in the wrong place. Knees and neck all wrong on an anatomy chart. Carrying a cloth bag and what he described as those hollow gourds dudes have in samurai movies to carry water. It somehow feels more intense now, raw and open. He begins to cry. He knows he can't watch now, something's telling him to go. The weirdest feeling comes over him, described as when you feel something could have been but wasn't. Feels like meeting a beautiful girl, getting to know each other. Becoming friends for a day, then never seeing her again. A feeling of what could have been. So many missed opportunities in the past. So many more missed ones in the future. Endless possible paths you could have taken and will take. Endless paths that will remain unraveled. A friend is crying now, not from sadness but from finality. It feels like he's finished something he likes, but because of that can do it no longer. As he drives away mentally broken, he sees that tall lanky god standing under his tree. All I can hear is water lapping at the sides of our aluminum boat when he finishes. I don't really have anything to say to him. We make small talk on our way back in the morning. Was that God?
G'day M8, yeah nah, I don't have any good ones of my own really, only one I can think of is be me, between age 3 to 5. Be retarded, nothing's really changed lol. Live out in the boondocks, parents own a couple of acres. Like I said, very rural. But right on the busy main highway. They never let me go out the front yard for obvious reasons. One day I elope somehow. Wander off down the road. Parents notice me gone, freak out. Eventually find me in one of the neighbors' paddocks, near the road. Anon WTF you brat. I tell him some shit about how the cow with hands helped me across the fence. No idea if I was just being retarded, or if Moloch was trying to get me lol. I can only rely on what my parents told me, as I remember nothing. One thing of note though, the paddock they found me in was nearby the local, scary house, abandoned for years, satanic shit painted on the walls etc. IDK, not much of a story bro, sorry. Other than that, I might be able to dredge up a few other anecdotes, maybe.
I got one. No Greentext cause phone but will be in same format. About 2 years ago, sleeping in bed, frightened awake by a blood-curdling scream. Holy fucking thick. GIF. Look at clock, it's 3:04. Run to my light switch like I am Jamal trying to get cum chicken. There's nothing. Open my bedroom door, everyone's asleep. Don't wanna knock on parents' door because dad will call me a pussy. Nothing, still scared to shit. Stay up till 5 a.m. when dad gets up so I can sleep and feel safe. Next night kinda scared, go to sleep like around 11 cause I am scared. SAMEFUCKING scream. Look at clock, it's 3:04, fuck. JPEG. Do same thing but eventually go to bed an hour later, next night, but wait there's more, it happens again. This time I don't give a fuck, nothing happened the two others times. I roll over, look at the clock, 3:04. Fuck you Satan. Roll back over and go back to sleep. Never happened again but still creepy. I got another one if anyone's interested.
2 years ago. My family is staying at my aunt's house. Her house is pretty old. Midnight. I'm watching TV in living room. Stupidest show is on. I notice something on my right peripheral. Massive darkness. Keep looking at it. Notice a face. Staring at me with a huge scowl. Start getting a little frightened. Quickly look back at the TV. About 20 minutes go by. The kitchen lights fucking turn on. I go investigate and no one is there. I turn around and see the younger cousin standing there. She asks if I think Priscilla is pretty. I ask, who is Priscilla? She says her as she points behind me. Shadow is back. I grab my cousin and run outside. My aunt and her husband hear the commotion. They both come running outside and ask WTF is going on. I told them that me and cousin saw a shadow. My aunt's husband hands me a nearby pipe. He grabs one also. He says let's go. We cautiously check the house. Nothing there. So yeah. That happened.
Something not paranormal but that has bugged me since it happened is that I saw this kid's face on the news one time. I recognized him. I'd seen him on and off at this park near my job. I know I'm going to get called a faggot for this story but whatever. There's this park by my old job. It's a well-known cruising spot in the gay scene. I found out about it through my boss, who was this really raunchy older gay man. He described how guys have been going there to blow/fuck each other since the 70s or something. I got curious and drove around there one day to see if I could spot any unusual activity. I was surprised by how blatant it was. There were these little secluded areas in the park where you could park your car and you'd be shielded on basically all sides by thick trees and tall grasses. So cars would pull in there and park. Then the drivers would prop their doors open and just sit there, which seemed to be a signal that they were looking for some action. Passing cars would see this and pull in. They too would park and that driver would walk over to a vehicle with an open door and proceed to blow the dude inside. Couldn't see the actual act, but it's obvious that's what was happening. Anyway, I was hooked on this shit because of how sleazy it was, and I'd find myself randomly going to the park out of morbid fascination. Once, I saw this one guy who was really young. As in way too young, maybe 14 or 15. I was parked nearby and he was coming out of the woods. He stood at the tree line watching the cars for a while. I figured maybe he was just a curious gay teen watching the older men blow each other. Kinda weird, but whatever, I'm in no position to judge. After that, I'd see this kid periodically. One time I watched as a man went over to him and the two disappeared into the woods. After this, anytime I saw the kid he'd be disappearing into the woods with a much older man. Then one day, a few months later, I saw his face on the news. Right away, my stomach dropped. I knew what it was before the news anchors even said it. Raped and murdered. I have no idea why, but I felt responsible. Like I should have interceded or something. What I would have even done. But fuck, I carried a ton of guilt about that for a long time.
Saw pic related in a previous Greentext thread. It was archived by the time I read it, but it struck a chord. I worked at a little shithole bar for almost 7 years. Over that time I heard numerous stories from customers about an empty field next door. I'll Greentext to suit the thread. Working in a shithole bar. Next to the bar sits a large empty field. Bar is in a residential area, so people walk there all the time. They have to pass the field on the way. Every now and then, a customer will tell me a story about the field. Stories are all kinda different, but they always involve hearing something they can't explain. I take these stories with a grain of salt because after all, this is a bar, and most of these people are usually a little drunk when they tell me these stories. But one day, one of my favorite regulars and I are chit-chatting. He's a real down-to-earth redneck kinda guy, the last person I'd expect to hear something weird from. But he says he was leaving the bar one night. He was passing the field when he heard someone splashing through the puddles in the grass. It had recently rained. He looked. Nobody there. But he can see the puddles splashing violently. Water is jumping straight up like someone is stomping the water. Kinda spoopy on its own. But then he says that a few weeks ago he was walking by the field and heard something like a bull trotting around. That's exactly how he described it. Not a horse, a bull. Big heavy hoofbeats. He said it sounded like some big animal was stomping around back and forth. The guy said he got chills and took off for home. This guy's a told old dude, so the fact that he admitted that alone made me believe him. Just have a few more things. Anyway, like I said, he wasn't the only one who mentioned something like this. That's another reason why I kinda believe it. I'll keep this short. Another customer tells me he was walking home once. He hears something in the field. Unlike the other guy, this customer didn't liken the sound to anything. Couldn't even describe it. He just said it was the weirdest sound I ever heard. So he paused to listen. Everything seemed totally silent except for this weird sound. No wind, no leaves rustling, nothing. Then the sound stops and the man hears something else. Sounds like footsteps walking towards him from the far side of the field. He listens to them approaching for a moment before noping the fuck out and rushing home. He never saw a soul. Then I've heard another story similar to his. A few different people have said they've heard what sounded like someone walking alongside them in the grass. They'll just be walking home. And they'll hear footsteps in the grass next to them, following them. Anyway, I never heard anything myself, and it's not like this was a regular occurrence. But I did hear multiple people mention stories like these over many years.
Family of 5, parents, 1 brother and 1 sister and me the oldest one. Moved to out first house, used to live in an apartment. Everything cool house, chill neighbors. Then weird things start happening, I guess, and have concluded they have an explanation. Anyway. Dad starts feeling someone is watching him every night or when he is alone. Other night he feels someone pushing his arm. We used to do that when had nightmares or when we were scared, so my dad would come and sleep with us. Sees nobody. This happened many times. My sister starts experiencing same thing but with a doll. She had Henry from Sesame Street, worked with batteries, and each time you pressed it he would laugh, say his name. We checked the doll out, it had no fucking batteries. What the fuck? The maid that worked for us experiences same thing as my sister. Had a weird dream, and I shit you not, it smelled like burned shit. See a guy sitting in my lap, smiling. Best I can remember he looked like the devil from the Passion of Christ movie. My family agrees some weird shit is happening. Mother sets a party and invites a priest to bless the house, after a month of this weird shit. Priest says he wants to go in alone because that's the rite he must follow. Obviously my mother didn't tell him about that, no one. He was there to conduct a blessing, not a fucking exorcism. He comes out with a thoughtful face, like he is confused. Asks us if we have felt weird shit. We told him the events. Says, well now it's gone. That has on Ellie being my only experience.
I've got a brief story from about 5 years ago. Driving through rural Alberta late at night. On a road that I know well, it's got a reputation among some locals for being haunted. I see a large black shape in the ditch up ahead, and I step on the brakes, thinking it's a moose. As I get closer, I notice there's a lot more than one, at least 7-8 large black shapes in the ditch. Moose don't travel in big groups, think maybe it's a bunch of escaped cows. But they look too tall to be cows. Even with my headlights, I can't see anything more than just pitch black shapes, not even any light reflecting from their eyes. I slow to a crawl and pass them by. None of them move an inch. I leave them behind, still not sure what they were, and not feeling brave enough to stop and try to find out. I've been down that road hundreds of times in my life, both in daylight and at night, and that was the only time I've seen anything like that. It was really eerie. I'm not going to completely dismiss the idea that they could have been regular animals, but I've seen a lot of moose and cows on the road at night, and these things really didn't seem like either, both in behavior and appearance.
Left something outside under a tree, remembered at night and went to get it. Right as I'm about to grab it, hear branches shift above me and a short scree noise. Can't see shit due to the pole light nearby not reaching far enough. Speed walk back to the house with the thing I came for. Return with a flashlight but don't see anything in the branches. It was probably just a bat or something, but it sure spooked me when it happened.
I sure do, alright. About a year ago. It was about 6 p.m. Me and a friend playing video games. Me and him only ones at his house. His dad was at work. All of a sudden the TV turned off. My friend gets up to turn it back on. Won't turn on. We went to investigate the breakers thinking that they got set off somehow. We found them in their proper place. Can't seem to come to a conclusion. We go back and sit down. As soon as we do, the TV turns right back on. Friend starts to nope a bit. Tell him to chill out. About an hour later. Start to hear faint talking. Thinking my friend was messing with me, I look at him. Was about to say, knock it off, man. His face was staring right back at me. He looked terrified. Faint whispers still going on. I realize this and we look at each other in amazement for what seemed to be 3 minutes at least. Noises finally cease. I have no words. My friend goes to say something when we hear freaking music in the other room. It was coming from his computer. I swear to God I saw him turn it off after we were done using it. Can't believe my ears. Will post link to music. At this point I'm shivering. Feels like something shoots between me and him. Chill goes up my spine. Everything ceases after that.
Can't sleep, turn on phone and browse whatever to help me fall asleep, not working. End up finding something interesting to read up on, still looking at my phone, see my husband walk across the feet of my bed, smile and look up thinking he's going to kiss me goodnight. He does childish things like that, it's sweet. No one was there. Heart skips a beat and turn on flashlight on my phone. I'm alone. Walk to the living room and see him still awake working, ask him if he went to the room for something. No, stays with him until we both go to sleep together.
This one only happened a couple of weeks ago. Weekend racing in the backwoods of Norcal with 2 friends. Don't leave until nearly 7:30 p.m. Racing up the highway in the dark, but it pretty cool. Lose cell service about 45 minutes into the mountains. After about 2 hours we get to the lake. Race past it into a tiny town at the edge of the lake. Population only 31. No one is out. All the lights are out. Almost out of town when we hear a strange industrial sound. Oh shit, is something wrong with my car? Slow down to listen. Sound coming from the lake, but stops. Silence for a few seconds. Then a new sound comes. Not the industrial sound of a blade moving like the last sound, but a wailing noise that sounds not quite human. We start to freak. Try to rationalize it. First sound must be a sawmill. Maybe the second sound was a mountain lion. Don't really believe that though. Keep driving until we reach Greenville. Get gas from a really creepy hillbilly. Finally have cell service in this town. Look up sawmills. Nearest one was 25 miles away in the opposite direction of the lake. Spooked. Decide to go back the way we came to see if we can hear the noise again. Drive through the little town real slow. Nothing. Drive alongside the lake. Nothing. Joke about pulling over. Friend says let's do it. Find a road off the highway and follow it into the woods. Trees feel oppressive as the dirt road gets more crowded by them. Keep following it until we reach a clearing. Park and get out to walk the rest of the trail onto a little peninsula. Greater than one friend wants to keep going, other says no. I say no as well. It's quiet. No bugs out. No owls hooting. Just the sounds of 3 idiots by a lake. Thought I saw an outline of a woman out of the corner of my eye on another peninsula to our right. Shine a light, but there's nothing. Friend starts walking onto a sandbar. Who threw that? He asks about a little splash near him. No one. Probably a frog. We laugh about being jumpy. He keeps walking out. All gazing out at the silent lake across to the empty shoreline opposite us. Suddenly there is a massive splash. About 30 feet away from us. Start to freak the fuck out. I've seen fish leap from lakes before, but this was different. Too big. Too heavy of a sound. Everyone freaks out when we realize none of us threw a rock / had a big enough rock and no one is on the other side to have done it. Haul ass back to the car. Look for other cars as we drive out. Nothing. We're alone. I drove away from that place fast as I possibly could. Maybe it was one of the hill folk fucking with us, but we didn't see anyone or any other cars. It was just us.
Work night shift at train station in England. Walk down Cess to get to up sidings. Notice figures on far side of track past the 10-foot. Fucking yobs. Call it into station supervisor, told to ignore them and move on. Keep walking down Cess toward up sidings. About level with yobs, notice they're all barefoot and walking on the live DC conductor rail. Notice those aren't human feet. Notice those aren't yobs. Fuck that shit.jpg. Spend rest of night in platform Starbucks. You see a lot of weird shit on the tracks, but the odd thing is that whatever you see, it's always the suicides that are the most fucking scary. Or funny.
Was 14 and hanging with my friends at a Christmas thing in his small town. Get a bunch of glow sticks and eat some food and go walking around in the woods. Starts getting dark, it's pitch black besides the street lights in town. Go back to the park and dry our socks on the barbecues in the park. For some reason we start melting glow sticks onto it. Walk into an overgrown walkway in the park to split open some glow sticks. Place is lit up by little specks of glow stick everywhere. Just sitting around and talking, looking at how cool it looks. Out of nowhere, about 10 meters into the shrubs, someone tripped on what sounded like a 44-gallon drum and was followed by running footsteps. I freaked the fuck out and ran into the street under the light. My friends aren't with me. Wait around a few minutes and anxiety is up the wall. 2 figures come out from the darkness and walk towards me. Just turned out to be my friends and we go home.
Well, here's my story. Fall asleep late with TV on. Wake up at around 3 a.m. to turn it off. TV is off already. At the foot of my bed is a woman in black with tattered dress with no eyes. Double take at what I'm seeing, so tired I brush it off and go to sleep with it probably still looking at me. Wake up the next morning, nothing there but still remember vividly what I saw. Wasn't spooked at all but thought it was weird. Tell my sister, her BF says a few months ago he was staying alone here and that he heard something call his name. Interesting that our house is haunted now. Be at friend's house, small gathering, 8 people, condo or duplex or WE, 2 two-story houses with a door in the middle, left is vacant, right is his parents own the place, used left for beer pong or storage, sometimes private time with the opposing sex. We're just watching movies and drinking. Start hearing sounds from left condo, boxes being opened, maybe talking but not able to tell, open door, couple of boxes tossed around, opened and looked like they were gone through, I keep eye on door, friend gets makeshift weapons bat, kitchen knives etc. Leave puss friend Keith with the girls cause he is a bitch, other friend Dave and I go in to investigate, can see front door and garage door from side door, Dave backs me up as we check garage and Keith watches from side door, garage empty, door closed, check front door, locked and no damage, nowhere to hide on ground floor, just a few stacks of boxes that get checked. Make way to stairs, start to feel nope.jpg, swallow fear, want to look manly in front of bangable chicks, get upstairs, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom and an office, start in office, old TV still intact, window closed and locked, nothing out of place, go to open first bedroom door, seems jammed, stand by it while Dave moves over to upstairs bathroom, second bedroom, access through bathroom, stupid design, before he turns on light, hear thump in bedroom, I am by, ready bat for a hobo beatdown, bathroom light turns on, second bedroom empty like normal with locked windows, Dave and I have been leaving lights on the whole time, second bedroom door opens easily, power goes out, shitpants.exe, literally pooped my pants, hear first bedroom door open, completely unprepared for the depths of hell it is about to unleash on me, still in / near bedroom doorway, Dave uses light from cell so we can see, bedroom empty, windows locked, stay in room, don't want others to see / smell shitty pants, Dave calls Keith up with flashlights, bedroom walls covered in scratches / gouges, like a person could not get out, no one in closet, nothing in room, window covered in gaunt, dust mixed with dog slobber, dog owners know the shit I am talking about, Keith nopes out again and goes back downstairs with the women like a bitch, Dave and I look more closely at scratches and where shit could come from, scratches are like human fingers and not an animal, hear slam from outside of bedroom and a woman sobbing, call down to Keith and ask which one got scared, all 5 of them are at the bottom of the stairs, second bedroom, one on other side from bathroom, door slammed and sobbing is coming from in there, everyone nopes out. Come back next day. Sewer had backed up in the whole neighborhood. Sewer workers found body of missing woman in neighbor's yard. She used to live in the condo, was strangled and buried in neighbor's yard when they were redoing their sod. Well, now we know how your grandparents got it so cheap, Dave.
So my family home has been weird lately, so here is some short tales. I am laying in bed trying to sleep. I feel super heavy anxiety. I wear a Saint medallion on my necklace, anyway laying in bed and panicking a little. I can fully move so it's not sleep paralysis. Feel like something flicked. Tried to grab it off my neck, say fuck it and go watch movies for a couple hours. Just the other day my brother and dad are about to go to the store. They both watch a table lamp rock back and forth. It settles down and just sits there. Dad says, "Did you see that shit?" My brother says yes, laying in bed again. Feel a cat jump on my bed, it curls up and lays down. I didn't hear the cat's paws. I turn on my bedside lamp, no cat. Reminded of my cat that slept by my leg for 15 years that I had put down due to cancer last year. I feel sad but comforted by it.
Bumping with some OC. Be me, in my last semester of college. Friend convinces me to take a graduate level math class with him. We bullshit with the professor and both get approved for it. Show up early for the first day to get a feel for the place. The graduate classes were taught in this shitty converted dorm building. Classrooms are really long, but very narrow as a result. We walk in the classroom to find out that we're not the first ones there. There's a girl in there with very dated clothes. She looked like she was pulled out of the 70s. I go to take a piss and my friend is checking out the course syllabus on his laptop. When I get back, the girl is gone. My friend didn't hear her leave and she would have had to walk right by him to exit the room. The professor and the other students show up, she's not with them. I never saw that girl anywhere on campus after that day. That building always gave me the chills after that. When I went to class or office hours, I almost had a feeling of being watched. It was pretty old and I found out about some suicides that happened there back when it was still used as housing.
Be Grandpa. Sometime around the 1940s I think. Deep South. Wild country bumpkins as far as the eye can see. There's a huge tree just north of Grandpa's hometown. A local legend claims the tree is haunted by a large man on a black horse. People have been said to make pacts with it. Others leave little offerings, hoping to gain favor from the tall man. Grandpa decides to make a deal with the evil spirit one day. Not gonna go into detail, but Grandpa was an orphan and his life was really rough. So Grandpa goes to the tree. A man on a horse steps out of it, almost like the tree was liquid instead of solid. The man is huge, and his face looks all puffy and blue like when someone drowns. Grandpa tells his story to the man. How he's starving and can't find work and has no money. How he's lonely and wishes he had a family of his own. So the man on the horse tells Grandpa to travel to a neighboring town. He'll meet a woman there with lots of money. They will fall in love and get married, and with her money they'll be able to buy a farm. The farm will earn them a decent living, and it will stay in the family, but that two of his sons will leave for the city and go on to become educated men. Grandpa will live to see them prosper and become important people. But there's one thing he needs to do. There's a cave outside of town that belongs to the man on the horse. Grandpa needs to stop there on his way to the next town. He needs to write his name on the cave wall in his own blood. Then everything will happen just like the man on the horse said. Grandpa thanks him and leaves for the neighboring town. On the way, he finds the cave the man told him about. He goes inside and finds the walls covered in names written in blood. Grandpa pricks his finger and signs the wall as well. Then he leaves. Long story short, Grandpa met my grandmother, whose family was really wealthy. She and Grandpa bought a farm, made a good deal of money, and raised my dad and his brothers. Several years before I was born, Grandpa woke up to find the man on the horse standing by his bed, no horse. The man told Grandpa that he would soon be a grandfather, and that his grandsons would prosper, just like he promised. But in the 35th year of his life, the youngest boy will be mine. Then he slowly faded away. I'm the youngest of my dad's sons BTW. Grandpa used to tell me the story and chuckle. He'd say there was nothing to worry about. He'd remind me that the name he signed on the cave wall wasn't his real name. After he'd been orphaned, one of the families in his hometown took him in for a bit. The name they'd given him was the name he'd written on the wall. So I'm sure you have nothing to worry about. Then he'd pretend look confused and ask, "How old are you now?" I'd tell him and he'd nod very dramatically and say, "Yes, I'm sure you'll be fine." I know this was just a bedtime story my grandpa made up to scare me, but man, could the old man spin a yarn. I'm 25 now and it still kinda spooks me to imagine that he was telling the truth. I'll see if I can dig up some photos of the time I visited his farm and hometown.
When I was around 7, I was hanging with my older brother and his friends in a nearby park around 11 p.m. They were around 10 to 11 years old. My ad kicks in and I wander off doing whatever. I see some lights, so I look to see what was going on. It's dark, but I saw a motorbike and a couple of people. I'd say they're around 19 to 22. They are on the other side of a barbed wire fence, so I don't think anything of them and watch for some reason. There are some big garbage bins there. They climb them, they start climbing the fence. I get the fuck out of there and go tell my brother and his friends what happened, and they didn't believe me because I'm 7. I get scared for my safety and theirs as well. I go and check the fence, nothing, nobody is there. SPOOPY.
Okay, this will be a little longer, so stay with me for a while. Beast cook at me. About 20 years ago, so no mobile internet or phone. Just stupid kids from 500 people village in a big ass forest. Spend time after school either playing SNES or exploring the woods. Found a little lake about 3 kilometers from home. It got a little dam about 7 meters height. Play here with fans for years. Mostly hang out with 3 guys. Jan, typical German blonde kid, kind of nerdy. Likes to play Age of Empires and Flight Simulator while I am hardcore Nintendo kitty, so while we get along we don't really have a lot in common. Florian, the stupid fat, and gay, but we didn't know at that time yet, guy that collected stones. Really weird guy. Remember, this is the 90s, so you had to hang out with local kids, even if they sucked. Third guy, Indian named Ajay. Kind of clever and strong but a real douche. THR kind you lent a game and it disappears forever. So we found the lake in spring and played the whole year there. Basically bringing Game Boys, a radio, and built shitty treehouse etc. Autumn comes and nights get longer. Forgot time one day and be at the lake whole day again. When you go there you stay the whole day because it's between 2 steep mountains without real streets, only animal paths. Getting dark, forest is really beautiful. Red leaves, nice cold clean air. Trees cast long shadows. Enjoy my time there. We pack our stuff and start to go home. Suddenly we hear some strange whale-like noises and nearly shit our pants. We bolt home and the fat kids gets asthma attack. Carry that fucker the rest of the way with 2 guys. Get home in panic and tell my parents. They don't believe shit and laugh at us. Not happened again and forgot about it. Fast word. Winter came. Lots of snow everywhere. Haven't been to the lake, PBTW, since then because scared as fuck. Guys come over and tell me the lake is frozen, let's play ice hockey, with sticks and stones because poor AF. Winit.jpg sounds fun. Head to lake. On way to lake we find an old flyer on a tree. Have you seen this kid? Ajay tells us, wow, didn't they find him yet? Rest UF us don't know what he is talking about. Turns out a few days after we heard that scary shit a kid went missing. Our parents decided not to tell us about, but the guy was from Ajay's school so he heard about it then. Apparently this kid is still missing. Spooked but continue to the lake. Very nice view, beautiful white snow and thick ice on the lake. But it's higher than usual and the water has flown over the dam and froze there, so it's dangerous to cross it now. We want to go to our fave place, AO we have to cross Walk slow and be nervous as fuck, 8 meters down to the right. Cross the waterfall. Completely frozen and the ice build a tunnel-like structure, so I now look down an 8-meter deep ice tunnel, think wow cool AF. Cross them with no problems and arrive on our shitty bush house. Drop our shit and go look for sticks to play hockey. Find a good stick and go on the ice to see if it hold a me. It does, cool. Notice though that it gets thinner upstream, decide to not go there. Guys yell, hey Anon, let's use the ice tunnel as goal. Good idea. Start playing. So the ice tunnel behind the dam is the goal. When you hit the tunnel it makes a kind of strange sound when it hits the bottom. Keep playing. All of the sudden the fat kid gets in a rage, ABD starts to play really aggressive. Apparently Jan mocked him because he IA fat again. Florian tackles Jan and he falls down and slides over the ice. Right in the direction of the thin ice. Of course suddenly ice cracks and Jan goes down into the water. He scrams and goes down head underwater. I run to him, lie down and crawl to the hole. Grab Jim by his jacket and pull him up. Heavy because his winter jacket soaked full with water pulled him down. Couldn't get up by himself. Heavy breathing and a look of pure terror in his eyes. We pull him out with combined effort and drag him on land. Once catched his breath he told us he had to go home, stops speaking with us, he seems traumatized. Figure it's because of his break-in and bring that guy home. Next day. Mom wakes me up for school and asks me with a worried face if I had been to the lake last day. Tell her the story. She gets pale and tells me there is police with a helicopter near the lake. Makes me promise not to go there anymore. Okay.jpg. Go out for school but decide fuck it, I have to see what happened there. Thinking of the spooky shit in autumn and get worried. On my way there meet Ajay who is heading to the lake too. He tells me he knows what happened. Seems frightened. Turns out Florian the fat kid saw a body staring at him frozen under the water in the hole the water flows through. It was the body that we hit with the stones. His legs went through the hole but his hips didn't fit. Think a monster drowns him, and for a few days I'm convinced there is a monster here. We decide to look for it because we're stupid AF. By now the lake is closed with police tape says entry forbidden. Be kids and don't give a fuck. Snow everywhere has been stepped on and searched by police. Don't want to cut tape barrier, so decide to climb on a small tree to jump over it. Spooked 100% by now. Get up that tree. WTF, find frozen tape recorder. Cool.jpg. Take it in my backpack and keep exploring and look for monster, but don't find anything. Go home, still spooked. Get yelled on by mom, what I've been doing, blah blah. Get sent to my room. Remember the radio? It has a tape deck. Open it and find a tape. Put it in my player. Play it. Hear whale noises. The end. That fucker from Ajaya's school spooked the shit out of us with a tape player playing whale noises on a tree. He literally died laughing because he fell from the tree into the lake and got stuck in the stream and drowned. Nobody found him until winter. True story. Or maybe GE recorded the monster and got killed by it during recording. You decide.
I have several nope stories, just going to start out with one and take it from there. B18. Just moved out of mom's house into own apartment. Fuck yeah. Apartment is about half an hour away from house. Very suburban but built up area. Apartment is in basement of a house. No one living upstairs in actual house. Get unpacked, have parties, usual 18-year-old stuff. About a week goes by, nothing unusual. One day, taking a shower. Only one there. Faint knocking on bathroom door. Ignore it. A few minutes later. Knocking gets louder. By end of my shower there is banging on bathroom door. Get out of shower, open door. Nothing, no one there. Nope. Okay. Continuation of the last post. Boyfriend at the time staying the night. Tell him about everything strange happening around apartment. He says it's my imagination, doesn't believe. Stays the night, etc. Morning. He goes to take a shower. I'm sitting on my couch, drinking tea, reading a book, whatever. Greater than 20 minutes go by. He comes out of shower. Did you need something? What? You were knocking on the door. No, I wasn't. This isn't funny. I seriously have been on this couch the whole time. Nope.
I'll bite. Every time I get a fever, a specific nightmare haunts me. Shit probably started when I was 5. Had some sort of smallpox, me good now. First I'm in a forest, sounds of screaming and battle. I try to run away from the chaos, but always at the end logs fucking fall from an incline and everything blacks out. Phase fucking 1 of the boss fight. I usually become conscious at this point of time, but I cannot move my body. When I fall asleep a low roar intensifies. I hear it from the back of my head, maybe important, I don't know. Phase 2. I find myself on a hall. Scarlet colored tapestry with gold trimming, I don't know what style it's called, but it has a lot of curves, royal looking, and thick lines. But the scale of the hall. It's fucking enormous, like you can fit 10 stadiums without even touching the ceiling. At the end of the hall is a throne. With every step I take towards it, I feel dread. The walk feels forever, but the dread increases steadily, so progress, yay. A few hundred paces I can see who is sitting there. Some sort of queen, corpse white skin, long flowy robes, silver crown. The body morphs into a lot of shapes, but the figure looks vaguely human, or at least tries to be human. The head has a mouth, a pair of ears, and black horns that look like antlers. No eyes and nose. The more I come forward, the more the dread piles up to the point of tears in and out of the dream. The queen speaks, but I always wake up before I can hear it. Every fucking time I get a fever, I get the same nightmare. The amount of shit I got just for being sick motivated me to increase my resistance to flu and summer fevers. I rarely get sick now, but till this day I never liked large halls and big rooms in general. I sleep in a small bedroom and I can never sleep without my back close to the wall. I'll draw the hall if y'all wants it. The memory ain't fresh since it's been years after my last fever, but I'll try.
Just told this for the first time in another thread, so why not? Probably 10 years old at the time. I've always slept well, even on Christmas morning my parents would have to wake me up. But one night I remember very clearly to this day, I woke up and had a sense that something was wrong. It was this awful feeling of dread and fear, which had never happened before. I laid there in bed, staring around my room in the dark and noticed that my door to my room was shut. This was strange because it was always open every night. As I was staring at it, I suddenly saw movement. I looked over, and there was a figure the size of a full-grown man and it was clinging to my wall opposite my bed. I froze. It was crawling around on the wall, pausing here and there. I went to church a lot as a kid, so the only thing I could think to do was to try and be brave and pray. So I said out loud, and I remember my voice was quaking. I was so upset. "I'm not scared of you. Get out." I've never in my life believed in anything supernatural, but that shit was real. I started praying the only thing I could think of, which was the Lord's Prayer. Over and over slowly, the thing crawled down the wall, and hunched over, it pressed itself against my door like it wanted out. It made these awful desperate poses against the door. At this point I'd been watching it for probably 5 minutes solid since this all began. It was corporeal the entire time, had a clear and rigid outline, but looked like it was made out of smoke. No face, no clothes, human-like in appearance. It never even acknowledged me. As it was pressed, spasming against my door, suddenly it was just gone. I've never seen anything else like it. Never had anything else weird happen. And while I don't believe in goofy shit, I really saw something I can't explain. I was so scared I refused to go back to sleep. Once the sun was coming up and I could hear birds, I started to relax a little. I wanted to leave the room, but I wasn't going to get out of bed and go to that door. I remember being awake for hours afterward just contemplating what the hell happened. I can say that years later I mentioned seeing strange figures in the house to my mom. She's stoic. When I told her, she started picking at the edge of her lip, and basically said, "I've seen strange things in the hall." That hall is the one outside my room. I didn't ask more about it at the time, probably because it freaked me out to hear her say something like that. I never had any other occurrence in the house, frankly. I did have a really stupid thing happen at an old hotel once. The Tutwiler in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. I was just traveling for business at the time. This is so stupid, but I got woken up in the middle of the night by beeping. I went out into the little living area of my room that had a sofa, TV, fridge, all that. I looked over and the microwave was dialing itself. Frankly, I was super fucking angry. In my 30s at the time and tired from constant travel. But this fucking microwave was dialing in cooking time, then hitting the clear button. Over and over and over again. I went over to unplug it because I was thinking what a junk piece of shit it was. I tried to unplug it, but the cord was purposefully trapped under a little wooden cubby thing the microwave and fridge were on to prevent theft, I guess. It stopped beeping even though I couldn't unplug it. I turned the lights off, went back to bed, and it started up again. To be honest, I was just pissed off, so I pulled the bedroom door and went to sleep. It was totally fine in the morning. I told the receptionist that they needed to replace the fucking thing as I was checking out. That was when he told me that the place was haunted and that people stayed often to experience it. Dumb, but real.
Be me, be this summer, be stormy, get home after work, tired AF, go to bed early, have crazy scary dream, in dream lying down in bed, hear PSSSSD coming from my bathroom, look up thinking nobody but me is home, see tall man wearing black coat peeking out of my bathroom, sees that I see him, hey you, yeah you, come on we don't have all day, he said, motioning me to follow him. I lie back down still tired and not gonna follow a stranger I don't know. I wake up, 2 a.m, man that was a crazy dream, go to bathroom, MFW the window is open, MFW water is strung across my bathroom floor, MFW it might not have been a dream.
I've got exactly 4. Getting ready for school, 2nd grade, go into room which I share with 3 brothers, poor cuck. Decide to not turn on light to main room and instead turn on light to closet for, whatever it was. As I go into main room, I see a little figure in the dark, shorter than my 2nd grade self, run from right to left from main room into closet. Then on closet light, as I'm a brave little fuck, and see nothing F but clothes and Hulk smash gloves. Number 2. Sorry for crappy souling, on $20 burner phone, sad. Around same age sleeping, bottom bunk I share with one of my brothers, door to bedroom open. Awake one night as stepfather's snoring next room over helps me to imagine a little gremlin marching band truck through our hallway. Sleeping on the outside of the bunk, I notice from across the hall 2 little yellow eyes staring at me from under the bathroom door. Number 3. A bit older, 8th grade, about to go to sleep in an old house of my aunt's, passed down generations. She tells me of fairies she sees in the woods from the kitchen window. An acre across the lawn, many acres on property, sinkholes and graveyards and bullfrogs big enough to eat baby dinosaurs, cool stuff like that. At night my great-aunt's grandmother, whom she was very close to, comes to visit with her, sits on her bed and makes a little booty marked indent. Greater than I'm about to fall asleep, one night visiting, adored little bro beside already asleep, when I hear a glass set on a counter in the kitchen, 3 rooms down the hallway, I'm at the end, sleeping in old part of house, kitchen and living room added on by aunt. All lights are off and everyone is in their respective room. Don't even have frickin' TV, some old school mofos in Salem, Missouri. This creepy bitch, whom set a glass down in the kitchen, then proceeds to walk to the end of the hall, to my room whose door is open. Turns around and walks back. I can hear the frickin' floorboards creak as it goes, like weight in boots. It walks up and down. I'm already on the phone with my best friend as this thing walks thmy the threshold of my door, turns around and walks back for the last time. The jingle of keys on the kitchen counter ends it. Truly spooked. Number 4. Living in an RV at the prime of my life. Walk out one night to smoke a smoke. From the corner of my eye see a big bright light I assume as a street light shoot across the sky. As the sun dims down, I look up to see the street light far more yellow and not as high as light I had originally seen. Days before that, stopped at a stoplight, I saw a dead bird fall from the sky. When I look up I see nothing at all to cause the death, street lights being many meters from where the bird fell. And weeks before that I witnessed a dew fly into a glass door. Had to scoop the poor dude and give him a respective burial, from shovel into dumpster on construction site. Life is weird and awesome at the same time. A lot of times I get the creepy sensation of someone watching me. When I turn my back to a dark hallway, I found the solution being to turn, bow up neck and scream, "Bring it bitch." I also pray. I've been through some unquestionable stuff in my life, but there is always a light at the end of that little tunnel we call perception. Love you, anons, and wish you a happy and untortured life, as life is what we make it.
So, we're having a nope thread Hey, race my story. Be me. B16. Me and my uncles are going up to Flagstaff for a few days for a vacation during the summer. Parents and sister are going to Sedona. We bring a rifle and hunting gear. We get up there after a long fucking ride. We get out, stretch our legs and check out the cabin my uncles rented in the woods for us. Has nice view from the front window in the living room. I go upstairs and pick my room as the biggest one. No TV up there, only downstairs. Fast forward to that night. Late around like 12 midnight I was downstairs on the couch. Watching some odd anime on Adult Swim, not really paying attention, eating chips. Hear an odd noise coming from the window, kinda like a tapping, but fainter. Look over at it. 2 shiny bright yellow eyes staring back at mine. In the moonlight flooding through the window I see long spindly arms and long fingers on its hands, small amounts of fur, and what looks like hooves on the end of each finger. Nope. Run upstairs and leave the chips I was eating on the coffee table. Shut my door, lock it, pull the curtains and sleep in the closet for extra measure. Uncles get worried next day since they can't find me. Doors have key locks on the other side of knob in case of emergency or something. Find me in the closet. Ask me what the fuck I was doing in there. Explain exactly what I saw. They think I fell asleep on the couch and had a bad dream, woke the fuck up, and ran to my room in a panic. They say today is the day we go hunting. Scared cause I know what I saw, but yeah, Brian a gun, so I DGAF. We put on our hunting gear and get the rifle from my uncle's truck. We set out into the woods, and around 30 yards in we find a dead deer. Looked like a bear or bobcat got it from the mauling. Pretty much eaten, no skin left on it, it stunk, so we moved on. After about 20 minutes we come across another deer. Uncle takes aim. Pops it right in the head with the rifle. Lucky shot. Him and my other uncle carry it back to the cabin and skin it, cut off the eatable parts and put them in plastic bags we brought with the gear. I take the parts we can eat and put them in the freezer, save 3 medium cuts of venison which we eat that night. Uncles left the skin out to dry and the parts we couldn't use they took out into the woods and left there. That night I hear a noise I will never forget. Like the screaming of a rabbit mixed with a growl, I hear it beneath my window, near the place where uncles skinned the deer. Turn off the lights in my room and the eyes are staring at me again. This time it looks more filled out, the arms are wider and look more muscular, and the fur is long and shaggy. I can see sharp teeth through the window, bared and glinting in the moonlight. I go and wake my uncles, deciding they go and check outside. The one who bagged the deer earlier goes out holding his rifle and finds the deer's skin torn up, but nothing near my window. Suddenly we all hear that blood-curdling scream again, coming from the woods. I let them know that was the noise I heard. The uncle holding the gun goes into the woods trying to find it, deciding that it's just a rabbit. After what feels like an eternity from the tension we hear my uncle fire 3 shots and scream as the blood-curdling scream is heard once again. My uncle comes out of the woods, limping slightly with a bad bite on his leg, his shirt torn from a mauling and his rifle slung around his shoulder, moving as fast as he can. He tells us to get in the truck. We hurry to it, pile in with him in the passenger seat and my other uncle driving. He says 2 things, first is drive. Driving uncle turns around and drives out of the woods. Once we're out I hear him ask for the first aid kit, I hand it to him and we stop at the side of the road. He disinfects his wounds and bandages them. Suddenly something hits the side of the car. We all look out the side scared as shit and my uncle is there, and in the car at the same time. We both glance at the one in the passenger's seat. Neither of us know what the fuck to do. Outside my uncle is screaming to be let in, claiming the person in the seat next to us is the creature. We're not sure which is which. We start driving as we leave the outside one behind. We hear more of those blood-curdling screams coming from behind us as we drive away, and my uncle screaming for us. We left everything at the cabin, didn't turn back. Drove straight home and passed at my driving uncle's place for the rest of the day. Oddly, I was asleep before my hunting uncle. We wake up and he is nowhere to be found. We only find his Rottweiler outside, dead with its skin ripped off, and a shred of human flesh next to it. The dog had obviously been fed on by another animal. I haven't seen my hunting uncle since that day. No body was ever recovered from the incident on the side of the road. When someone asks me whether I want to find out what really happened amongst the chaos of that night, I always reply with the same answer. Nope. That's the end of it.
I wanted to share this story with you/x/ it happened a few days ago. I would share it sooner but I was scared AF and needed some time. So here we go. Be me 23. Be 4 days ago. Decide with friends that we should have a movie evening with horror movies and shit. For the sake of anonymity anon, me, Jeff, Greg, and Tom will be the names I use. None of us have a proper place so we decide to go to the abandoned house at the end of the village. It's a really cool place, windows broken or boarded shut. Doors missing. The 4 of us head there. I bring my projector, and extra batteries. Greg has a laptop and some movies. Jeff brings some snacks, neat. We get there around 9 p.m. Take a look around to ensure no hobos in the house. We go to a big ass room to ensure maximum projector quality, must have been living room one day. All set up, time to watch some shit. We watch a few old school films and laugh about the terrible CGI. Around 11 om Tom goes to the toilet. This means basically that he goes outside and takes a piss somewhere randomly since the house is abandoned and no water etc. He comes back and looks confused. Haha guys really funny, whispering around the corner when I'm taking a piss. Very original. We didn't know thing like that. WMV. Come on. We did nothing. Maybe you just ate too much zebra cakes. We carry on with the movie night. Now we watch some horror movies. This gun good.mp3. We start arguing over something so pause the movie. Then we hear it. Something that sounds like someone is walking in the attic. Maybe some crackhead wants to sneak up on us and steal our stuff. So we pull the good old Scooby-Doo trick. Let's split up. I go and check the attic with Greg while Tom and Jeff guards the equipment. We joke about Jeff who is spooked while we are looking for the entrance to the attic. Ladder has been located. We lift the cover up and check around. Nothing special, boxes, old books, toys, etc. regular attic stuff. As we look around we spot an old rocking horse. I'm not shitting with you guys, it was rocking on its own. Not like somebody gave it a push and you can see it getting slower and slower. It kept rocking on a constant speed. Time to fuck out.jpg. We start slowly going towards the ladder but we face the fucking thing that is still moving. Greg accidentally kicks a jar on the ground. Horse stops in an instant. We make a run for the exit and fall down the ladder. Tell the others what happened. They think we just want to spook them. We eventually continue the movie. Greg is totally out of it, spooked as fuck. Let's just watch something to calm his nerves since we don't want to pussy out. While we are looking through movie folders, weird static comes on the loudspeaker. Then it stops. But fused happened.png. The projector is off to save battery power. As we turn it back on we see the most horrible fucking thing that I ever witnessed. When you switch on the projector you know there is this blue screen for a few seconds until it gets ready. Now we switched it on and something cast a fucking shadow on the wall, except there was nothing there to cast shadow. Looks like the shadow of a child that is standing at the wall, thread pic related. It stood there for maybe 2 to 3 seconds. We just watched in horror, we couldn't even scream, although I wanted to. Then the shadow, I'm not shitting, started running towards the projector. Towards us. Projector switched off, hell breaks loose.mp3. We basically storm for the nearest exit. Well, not all of us. Jeff jumped out of the window taking a wooden frame with him. We ran straight home. The day after we returned to retrieve our stuff. The food is rotten although it was left alone for only like 6 to 7 hours. Decide to never go there ever again.
The only interesting thing to ever happen to me, in college, work part-time in grocery store. Grocery store is supposed to be built on Native American burial grounds. Hear stories about people getting random headaches and feeling nauseous on certain cash registers, but it never happens to me. Nothing ever happens to me tbh. One day I'm in the bathroom, which consists of 2 stalls and a urinal, at the sink washing my hands. Stall door slams shut, not like it gently closed due to a draft. I mean that thing slammed shut. No one else in bathroom, no windows, door was closed, no one in stall. Damn Indians. Another story, although it didn't happen to me. Lady I know is working cash register, run-of-the-mill order. Suddenly a liter of pop fucking explodes and jets across the store. Nothing is touching it. It's just calmly sitting there on the counter, then it bursts and goes flying. No one knows what on earth happened. Store full of people saw it. Damn Indians. Actually never mind. One more experience to share. I forgot about this one. Southern West Virginia, woods everywhere. House is entirely surrounded by woods. Out feeding dog one night, hear some kind of howl/screech coming from what sounds like the end of my driveway, which was a good 80 yards or so away. Big property, probably an owl or some shit. Hear it again and it sounds like it's in the yard. Still an owl I guess. Hear it again and it's closer. WTF. Hear it one last time and it sounds like it's just on the other side of the house. Nope, come on Buster, you can eat later. The fact that whatever it was covered that much area so quickly was spooked me. I live on a big ass piece of property.
GF's sister and new BF buy house together. They get it incredibly cheap despite it being fucking huge. Victorian townhouse. Only got it cheap because it's not in a good area and the whole place needs a massive renovation. Go over with GF and help them out when we can. But her sister and BF do most of the meme jobs that you don't need a professional for. In the corner of each room is like a square trapdoor that lets you drop into the room below or drop all the way down into the cellar if you open all of them. No idea what it is, I've never seen it before. It reminded me of like a dumbwaiter only in the floor rather than in the wall, and any wires or compartment to put shit in has been removed. It's really fucking dangerous anyway. Tell her I'm sure she'll find lots of cool stuff with it being so old. One night she calls GF and asks her if we can come over as soon as we can. We don't live far as we drive over. Her and BF sit pretty uncomfortable at a table with these dolls in front of them. Ask me what I think they are because they know I like /x/ stuff. Have absolutely no idea. look closer and they aren't really dolls at all, they're vaguely human-shaped, about 6 inches tall, but the insides of them have bones, hair, some kind of old plant, and they're dressed in old pages from the Bible tied with a piece of string. They're really fucking old. You know when paper gets that old it goes yellow and brittle, and if you try to bend it just falls apart? They were like that. Don't want to scare them, so tell them they're for good luck. Ask where they got them. Said they were in the walls and under the floorboards. They're sure they're cursed and throw them away. Once they move in, their son will not sleep on his own because of the man who keeps coming into his room, and he won't go near the cellar because that's where the girls are. Odd things still happen, but it's been a few years now since they moved in. Does anyone know what the dolls really were by the description?
Depends on the area of the country. They could have been wards with the Bible pages. Think of a voodoo doll and how its purpose is to form a link. If something isn't tangible, you could form a sort of anchor with one. The Bible pages could have been part of a sealing process against that target. Just like someone may stab a doll to transfer harm, the pages may have been part of a targeted seal against those forms. It may have been the best they had at the time, and it wouldn't hurt to have a priest use holy water to bless the rooms. It also would help to have them declare that they live there and it's time for everyone else to go now. Having internal fortitude and conviction when claiming control is important to establish. These things only leave when someone dominates them, and the living are more authoritative when they choose to be. Many people are fearful and let themselves be visitors and victims in their own home, which is why they can't get rid of entities. You don't beg, or hope, or fear. You declare. You demand authority. These things are like stubborn children, and you don't negotiate with a brat throwing a fit.
Fine, I have some. Be me, teenage, my brother and I had to sleep in the same bedroom. We had our own bed though. Sleep one day, all normal, wake up next morning, my brother cracks. He swears someone was watching me while sleeping, and he caught him off guard, pure shadow and one black hat. Just looking at me. I don't remember why my brother was awake, but when he tried to talk to the man, the black hat guy looked at him and he just fell asleep again. We both don't care, since apparently the guy didn't even scare him and he wasn't trying to do something weird. He was just looking at me. I always believed him since he would never lie with this stuff. Years later I discover tales about the shadow people in X.
Something similar happened to me in early 2000s. Be me 12 years old. Parents recently divorced. Mom and her new boyfriend, was a cool guy, found a house nearby and rented it. Got my own room there even though I only stayed on weekends. There was something off about this house. To this day thinking about it still creeps me out. Always felt like something was watching me but brushed it off since I was easily scared by movies/stories/ etc. Very frequently there would be a large flock of crows, maybe ravens, I don't know, all sitting on the roof of the house but only on one side, above my second floor bedroom. They would only be on our roof, not on any neighbors and not on any trees or phone lines. Every now and then there would be scratching in the attic right above my room. Just assumed it was squirrels or raccoons or something, but still spooked me. This is where it gets spooky. One night the scratching was a lot more hurried and louder, like something was trying to dig through the ceiling and was directly above my bed. Fuck this, grabbed my pillow and blanket and went to sleep on the floor of my mom's and her BFS room. Scratching followed me and they heard it too. After a few minutes it stopped. Suddenly their TV speaker, which was turned off, blasted the sound of a woman screaming followed by laughing. Mom and her BF moved out and found a new place later that week. Found out later there were 3 suicides in that house since the 60s, was built in the 60s. Honestly, the shit that happened there is why I believe in the paranormal. Another event that happened there, this was 2 or 3 months before story just posted. Be my mom. Come home from bar after work on a Tuesday night. Reheat leftovers, watch some TV in the living room, then head upstairs to go to bed. Lights are off so it's dark, light switch for the staircase was at top of stairs. Walking upstairs when suddenly wham, someone hits her with what supposedly felt like a baseball bat. Tumble downstairs spraying blood everywhere. Fall unconscious after hitting floor, Wake up almost an hour later to her boyfriend slapping her face to wake her up. Pool of blood that came out of her head. Call ambulance and police. They understandably suspected domestic abuse and took BF in for questioning. He was at work when it happened, time-stamped security footage and everything. No sign of forced entry. Only plausible explanation was that my mom was drunker than she thought and rammed her head into the podium part of the banister at top of stairs. Mom swore she wasn't that drunk. I believe her. She doesn't like drinking a lot, especially on work nights. No blood was on the podium, only on the wall behind it and the stairs and floor. We would also hear footsteps in the upstairs hallway fairly frequently, even I would hear it at least once a week even though I only was there on weekends. Fuck the guy that rented out that place, no way he didn't know it was haunted.
Spooky Greentext thread, I'll start, be me, 14 at the time, big woods behind my house, not many neighbors, fields and woods all around, nearest town is a mile west, anyways, one day I decide to go for a walk in the woods, it's about twilight, but that's okay, because I like looking for owls and catching fireflies, start walking on trail back to woods, get to woods, stay on trail, darker now so have flashlight on, make it about 1/3 road of the way through the woods, before hearing a blood-curdling scream, stop dead in my tracks, not unusual to hear woods noises, but never heard a fucking scream like that. Whole woods is fucking silent, except for quiet breeze and a few leaves rustling. Slowly begin walking again, now about one halfway into the woods, start feeling okay again. I pass by one of our trail markers, and right as I do, something steps out of the bush about 60 feet in front of me, stop dead in my tracks again. This thing is completely silent, didn't even make noise when it came out of the bushes. I take one step forward, it looks at me, it begins stepping towards me, big huge fucking thing, about 8 feet tall, thin as hell and looks like what can only be described as a mix between Stripe the Gremlin, a Fresno Nightcrawler, and a Landstrider from the Dark Crystal. I begin to step back, shitting myself. It stops about 3 foot from me and cranes its neck, starts sniffing me, freeze, shaking. It sniffs me and grunts for a few minutes before it lets out a loud snarf sound and pulls away. It begins walking away, but as it does I reach out and touch its leg, feels like leather, not like reptile skin, but like a leather belt. It walks back into the bush silently again and disappears. Shit myself more and run all the way back. Don't stop until I get to the garage. What the fuck did I run into?
More true crime than paranormal, but hey, here you go. Be me. 15, American. Go to rich private school in desert state. School is super old, used to be a Catholic church. Main office is still there but chapel is not. Rumors ABT there being a cemetery on grounds. Get curious, decide to do digging. Turns out church has been there for decades. Definitely cemetery on schulgrounds.avi. Do more digging. Find old photo of church in late 1950. See off to side, gravestones. Jackpot. Wait until weekend and make my move, grab a few friends and make our way to school. Live in middle of nowhere desert, super cold at night. Get to school and head over to where gravestones were in photo. Turns out it's on the soccer field. Where so fuck it if we get caught. Start digging. Had to stop a few times BC cops but eventually we dig deep enough until one of us puts his shovel in and we hear it. Crack. We just broke a fucking femur. Oh, we are so cursed. 2 of us get rowdy. Cops come back due to noise. Book it. Get to school next week. Fucking police tape around hole. Hear announcement in homeroom that detectives will be coming by to talk to us and ask us questions. Rumors going around that they think bones are recent. Thinking I'm going to go to jail for whatever my 15-year-old brain thought, had mega anxiety at the time. Nothing happens until a month later. School cancelled out of the blue. WTF, okay, day off. Have friend whose mom works in admin office. Hears that detectives are talking to dean almost daily. No school for whole week. Walk by campus to see what's going on. Hear what sounds like a fucking construction site where we were digging. Meet with admin office mom friend later. Tells me feds are involved. Feds basically excavating field. School went back to normal next week. Field was back to normal. Students who ask immediately suspended. No sign of Dean. Years later find out he murdered a student and was arrested. School hushed it up.
Not me, but this was my dad's story before he passed. He was in a field working for his uncle. Be him plowing a field by a drop off towards a creek. Sees a hut that looks like a sweat lodge. Steps out of the plower because he hears animals coming from the sweat lodge like a bear, eagle, wolf, every animal you could name in the northern hemisphere. Hears what is coming from this dinky little hut and says fuck this. Goes to tell his uncle and his face goes flush, tells him it's a good thing he never went inside or went any closer. Says it's bad Indian magic. They decide to investigate the next morning. The next morning 3 cows are dead on Uncle's farm. Uncle doesn't say anything other than let's go investigate the sweat lodge my dad seen the other day. When they arrive there is nothing but a circle where the sweat lodge would have been. Uncle says never to tell anybody of what he has seen or heard coming from that place. Dad eventually tells me about because I was curious. I'm scared now brothers, what do if bad Indian magic happens?
This was an interesting thread. The mall I grew up with was one of the venues of the company apparently. Also reminds me of a time I answered an ad for a game tester that I'm almost positive was for trafficking young women. Be me at 19. Looking to make money on the side. See ad for a game test of a new rhythm game. It describes what would eventually be revealed as a new Guitar Hero. Do survey, email back and forth. They are very specific about a time and location of when to go, say I can invite a friend. My buddy and I head that way, kind of a drive but we arrive a little early. Go into this pretty fancy office suite building. Search for the office suite they said to go to. Can't find it. Weird thing is we just try walking into suites that would be adjacent to the one we were told about. Lots of winding hallways and disrepair leading to empty rooms and larger disrepair. Almost like it was in the middle of renovations, but there are no warnings about this or evidence a contractor crew has been here. Eventually go down to the receptionist, security kiosk. We ask about the suite. The dude claims that suite does not exist. It was weird that they knew what the next Guitar Hero was gonna be, and they could have cancelled, but I think it was fake. I think if me or my friend was a woman, things would have gone differently. I tried contacting the person I was emailing and they never replied again. The day want a whole wash. On the way back we found a really nice burger place.
This was probably a coincidence, but it spooked everyone in my class when it happened. 4th grade. We have this one kid in class who is known for being on meds. Every day, just before lunch, this kid, Ryan, starts getting irritable. He's led down to the nurse, takes his meds, and comes back like a zombie. Won't talk to anyone. I noticed he barely ever ate his lunch too. Not sure what he had exactly. Anyway, one day Ryan's irritable from the very moment he gets to class. Teacher puts up with it but he gets progressively more aggressive, throwing stuff at people and taking people's stuff, shit like that. Teacher is telling him to settle down when suddenly he freezes. It's really sudden, and his eyes go super wide. Ryan is already really skinny and has these big fish eyes, so when he does this it looks really weird, like his eyes are bulging out of his head. Anyway, teacher decides Ryan needs to take his meds early today. She tries to lead him out of the room but he's resisting pretty hard. Teacher's pretty old too so she can't even get him out of his seat. She decides to go and get help. For a moment the whole class is quiet. We're all just looking at this kid. He's staring straight ahead like he doesn't even see us with his big bulging fish eyes. Then he turns his head and looks straight at this one kid. Tells him, "I saw you last night." The kid looks nervous and Ryan says, "You told me you were going to die." The class is totally silent. This kid that Ryan just told this to looks spooked. Then our teacher comes back in with the gym teacher and together they force Ryan out of the room and to the nurse to take his meds. 2 days later that kid Ryan said was going to die doesn't show up. The kid's friend later tells us that he was playing in his pool and apparently dove off the diving board wrong and cracked his skull. His mom found him already dead.
First of all, sorry for my bad English as I'm not a native speaker, will do my best. It's a short story, but it still spooks me a little when I think about it. Be me, I was like 15 back then. Weekend and went with dad and my brothers, 21 and 9 at that moment, to grandma's house to have lunch. Not a big house, MS Paint related, also aunt and her family there. We were in the kitchen with dad, big bro, grandpa and grandma talking about the week while waiting for the food. As you see on the paint, you can see all the room's doors when you sit on the kitchen's table. Dad was on the blue circle and I was next to him. Aunt, little cousin and her husband are on the living room watching TV. Little brother and my other cousin that had the same age were on the room marked with a star playing computer games, laughing and screaming as a child would normally do. Minutes pass and the food is ready. My dad calls my little brother to eat. He didn't come and stays in the room playing with the computer like 5 minutes more. We keep talking normally and start to lunch. Suddenly my dad's face transforms, he gets pale as fuck and screams get the fuck out of there and goes literally running to the room and takes out my brother and my cousin from there. We all look like what the fuck is happening to this dude? We were having a normal conversation and he went crazy. We asked him what happened and he said he saw a dude with a black hat and suit walking straight in the room the kids were playing. We always believed him because how he acted, he was a quiet guy. The weird thing is only him saw it. The same day aunt told us that like 2 years before my younger cousin, who had 3 heard someone calling her on the garage, on MS Paint 2. Went and saw a old guy with a white suit and they are sure it was the same dude my dad saw. They did a cleanse on the house with a priest or something like that and nothing more happened. That dude told them that it was a spirit who feeded with the child's emotions.
Some of these stories about spooky stuff happening on long road trips brought up a buried memory. Nothing paranormal but just something that made me really uneasy. A few years ago. Trying to get back into town with my so after a hurricane. Main highway is backed up for 200-ish miles because everyone else is trying to get back into town. Roads still closed due to flooding or downed trees. Google Maps puts together a convoluted alternate route through a bunch of back roads. No, we'll lose cell service but the car has satellite GPS so at least we won't get lost. Decide to take the route because it'll save 2-3 hours of sitting in traffic. The drive is actually kinda nice. Enjoying the scenery of rural South Carolina. Past some farms and a sketchy gas station and just enjoying some music while driving. Route requires me to turn down some really small, narrow dirt road. Looks more like someone's driving or a service road on their land. Double check the GPS and confirm the road connects to the next a few miles down. Don't see any signs indicating it's private property so we go for it. Road is uneven with lots of potholes so I have to drive slow. Start getting a weird feeling like we're not supposed to be there. There's a barbed wire fence along the road and we notice that there's weird spikes sticking out of it. As we drive by we see that it's chicken heads on pikes. WTF.jpg. Keep driving because there's no turning back now. Turn the bend and we can see a beaten up old shack on the property. Notice there's things hanging from the trees that look like chicken carcasses or dolls or something like that. Place looks abandoned and there appears to be no one around but we kind of feel watched. Even though we were curious as to what was in the trees we decide to keep on driving and got out of there.
Got another short story, this time involving UFOs. Again sorry for my Neanderthal English. Be me, 12 years old. We lived in a house in front of train tracks with a big terrace, and behind the tracks there is a club and football camps, so we can see all the sky with no problems. Also there is a military airport and military school near us, almost 2 kilometers from home, so it's normal to see planes, jets, helicopters. One day mom washed some clothes and told me to help her to hang them on because her back hurts and she had to carry a heavy basket upstairs with all the wet shit. Okay mom. We went to the terrace, cold winter night, it was like 7:30 to 8 p.m, the sky was dark and clear. We hang clothes blah blah. Then when we are finishing I saw a light moving straight. I thought it was a helicopter because it was moving very slowly, but it was only one light, like it was a star. I stared at it because I was curious of what that shit was, a satellite maybe? Then the light speeds up really fast and disappeared, and when it disappeared all the sky lighted up for less than a half second like it was 12 AM at fucking 8 PM. I kept staring at the sky for a few more seconds after it disappeared because what the fuck just happened? I went crazy or what? Then mom says, did you saw the same as me? Ask her what did she saw, and yes, she saw exactly the same thing as me. A few years after I saw a light that did exactly the same except for the part of lighting up the sky because it was like 6 AM and was daytime already. One of my brothers and a friend witnessed it, but it's another story. Maybe in a while I post it if someone likes, but it's very similar.
I'll tell mine since I'm also Colombian. Dad was in the military and mom lived him in an Air Force base in the Amazon. Internal conflict was at its peak, so planes could only arrive once every 2 weeks depending on climate. Mom's like 7th month of pregnancy, so belly is noticeable. Dad pilots intelligence aircrafts, so he is out all nights flying. Both my mom and dad used to live in a small room, but because of the pregnancy they ask for a full apartment. Since the airbase was really big, it had a bunch of houses in a 3-story building with small apartments. Also, because it was isolated from almost everything, power cut off every day at 7 PM, usually it gets dark like at 5:30 to 6 PM here. They move into one of the apartments on the last floor. Since dad is working all the time, some soldiers help my mom the moving. Mom notices that some of the soldiers were acting strange but wipes it off. That night she hears knocks in the bedroom's window. Asks who it is. Onions, yo, aquí estoy, it's me, I'm here. Panics TF out and asks again. Same responde. She starts crying and praying. She says that she suddenly couldn't pronounce words, like her tongue was tangling. She leaves the house, rushes down the stairs, and people notice her screams and rush out to help. Next day she tells my dad everything. He tells her maybe it has something to do with pregnancy stress and nightmares. That night the same thing happens again. Who is it? It's me, here I am. Mom had bought a flashlight but the batteries somehow were not working. Rushes out of the house, people notice, etc. Next day she goes and talks to the Sobandera. In a lot of countries in South America, witches and sorceress used to live within communities taking the roles of medics or priests. Sobanderas are medics that specialize on herbs, potions, and massages to alleviate illness. The Sobandera tells her that there was money and indigenous belongings in the apartment. Every military base, even to this day I believe, has a priest. Most of people in Colombia are Catholics, so it helps soldiers and communities near the bases. She goes to the priest, asks the priest to pour holy water on the apartment. It's a common practice when you move somewhere to sanctify it. Priest agrees, tells her that he will be there before it gets dark. Mom gets to the apartment, falls asleep. Wake up next day, surprised that she slept for so long and the priest did not show up. Meets the priest, he tells her he went to the apartment and she was standing by the window looking up but never answered nor opened the door. Mom tells everything to dad. He tells her it's better for her to leave the base for the time and come back after the child, me, was born. Mom agrees. She goes back to her mom's and I was born there. Dad was transferred to a major city shortly after I was born, so my mom never came back to the military base. Fast forward 15 years, Dad's still in the military, divorced, I live with him. He was transferred back to that base, but this time as the director of the whole military base. I move with mom, still travel to the base almost all of my vacations. One time I arrive and there is this old lady walking near my house. Recognizes me, calls me by my name, asks about my mom. Figure it's someone who met me when I was a baby and I don't remember, so I just answer kindly. We chat for a bit, tells me her name, leaves. Tell dad about the old lady and he tells me she was the Sobandera. Still creeps me out how she could recognize me and knew my name even though we hadn't met before and my dad never spoke with her.
Glad to see this thread still up. I have several stories, nothing great but it'll keep the thread alive. I'll start with the most mundane ones. 10-11. Dad plays Morrowind on his PC after work. I watch him but I'm a pansy and am too scared to play it myself. Seeing the monsters after your rest has been disturbed spooked me. Go to the bathroom to brush my teeth, look in the mirror. My flesh starts falling off, my skin is peeling like wallpaper, one of my eyes sort of shrivels up and turns to dust. Realize I'm dreaming and that I'm cool with this, always had really weird dreams and nightmares. Hear something with a weird gait come up the stairs, like it's limping. Without any fear, see a corpse at the top of the stairs, visible from the bathroom. Looks sort of like a bone walker from Morrowind, but an actual person instead of the model. Think he looks really cool because the undead enemies in Morrowind never scared me, I thought they were awesome. He says something to me, and I laugh, he smiles as best he can for someone with a decaying face. Wave goodbye to him and he waves goodbye back. Wake up to my mother, who's been trying to get me up for a while apparently. I had moved from my room to the downstairs couch and decided to sleep there. Parents saw me doing this around 2, asked what I was doing, and I said I was visiting a friend. They just let me do this because they were tired apparently and because I didn't kill myself on the stairs. Told one of my friends about this on the school bus and he reminded me that we lived right by a cemetery, though I never really gave it any thought because the cemetery was just part of the neighborhood in my mind, and so were the gravestones in it. Parents had taught me to respect property and others. I'll continue on with more in a little bit. Not the most exciting, but I really like this thread. Thanks for posting all this, Anons. Greater than 7 years later. At dinner with family and GF at the time. Talking about movies with her and my dad, my tastes are vastly different from hers. We're talking about how we both dislike The Sixth Sense, and I actually developed feelings for her while it was being shown in class the prior year. I had used our boredom to strike up a conversation. Dad looks at me kind of funny when I bring up the movie, doesn't say anything. Girlfriend goes to the bathroom at one point, Dad starts laughing. Asks me if I remember the phrase "I see dead people." Say I thought it was pretty corny in the film because I was a teen trying to seem sophisticated. He laughs some more, and while laughing, tells me about a story when I was very young and had recently learned to talk. Says he saw me watching the front yard from the dining room table, and asked me what caught my attention. Without any hesitation, I happily looked at him and said, "I see dead people." Nobody in our family had seen the film. Mom is mortified. She's even more mortified hearing the recounting of this tale. Think it's pretty funny, laugh along with my dad. Still think it's funny. Same year, at my GF's house. It's snowing like crazy, a complete blizzard. Her parents don't want me staying over because they don't trust us to be alone, but they can't in good conscience leave me to get into a car accident. GF and I are sleeping on a couch together, watching the snow. Family has a big home and property. See something move by the window close to the door, don't want to alarm her but she can already tell something's up. Hear something moving in the snow, stops when we get up. Go around to the kitchen to observe the backyard, GF turns on the light. MFW, there's a middle-aged black dude just standing there on the other side of the window I was looking out of in the dark, ready to rob the place. For a second we lock eyes and we're both stunned. Then he bolts. Watch him scramble over her backyard fence. The guy was caught, turns out he was living in the area and had been robbing people at odd hours. Police caught him a few days later. The next ones are more spooky, and have to do with my neighborhood from when I was growing up still. In college, still staying with family to save money / I like the area. Met several new people, became, slightly, less of a spurg after high school. One of my new friends is a gigachad who used to be really into /x/, he still is but he doesn't browse as much. Tell friends about canal near my house, usually walk along it during the day. They want to go, but at night. Never walked it at night, feel a little anxious about it. Wait for them to show up around 10 p.m, whole area's quiet, meanwhile I chill in the cemetery waiting for them. They show up, we go down the canal, very atmospheric at night since it's a full moon and steam is rising off of the water in an otherwise frigid cold night. One friend and I feel watched the entire time, keep looking over our shoulders on the way back. Feel sort of like we're trespassing, but less in an offensive way and more of an annoying one. As if we were guests and hadn't got the hint our host wanted us to go home. I'm feeling unusually skittish about the entire thing, calm down thinking about the canal, how nice it looks at night, how nicely it was made, how a lot of people probably put their all into the labor to make it, etc. Really awed by the scale of it all. Ride that calm wave all the way home. Everyone goes their separate ways, except one friend. We talk for an hour or two in his car. Windows get really foggy, but only on the sides. We don't really mind, we're just talking and having a good time. See something on the back window when getting some stuff out of his car. Symbol of some kind, forgotten it by now, drawn on the window behind my seat. Think it's kinda neat looking, too tired to really give it too much thought. Say goodbye and good night. MFW got my 8 hours. I posted a lesser bone walker there, they only show up at certain levels. They're admittedly hard to find when I return to the game, but I always make an effort to pick up the conjuration spell for them. You might remember these guys more, they're beefier and more dangerous, high-level counterparts. Another story. Tell friends about what happened, show them the symbol after drawing it. No one can make heads or tails out of it, but it gets the /x/ vibe going pretty strong. Few weeks pass, they keep wanting to come back, though we mostly just hang out near the water and chat during the afternoon. Very peaceful. One day, we go at night, and on a trail I've never been on before. At a certain point, reach a part where the side opposite of the water is just open fields, completely in view. There's an old house in the field with no visible driveway or cars. Broken gate on the canal trail leading towards it. Get intense feeling of dread from the house. As we're about to come side by side with it on the trail, dig my heels in and ask if we can go back. Try to keep it cool, but one of my friends instantly recognizes that something's up, says we should go back directly. Everyone agrees. Can't figure out what's up with the house. Dad says it was empty for a few years, but someone bought it up recently and is living there now. Tell Dad more about excursions down the canal. You should show them the shrine. The what? He explains that the shrine is a statue to the Virgin Mary along the canal, with benches and places for prayer under it. I have never seen this before in my life. Very curious now, tell friends. Go during the weekend with 2 of them, keep walking. And walking. And walking. Get to the part with the house, it's around noon. I am unafraid this time, start scanning the horizon. There are deer watching me. Friend comments that they look kinda big, and I realize they are really big for deer, at least compared to the deer typically spotted in the area. See 3 of them, find it very fascinating, but a little unnerving. They just watch us as we move along. Keep walking, still no shrine in sight. Realize I never asked my dad for directions. Friends call me a retard, deservedly so. We go off to a side path, walk some more, realize we can see a suburb at the end of this long path and that we're going the wrong way. Call Dad, it's his day off. Gives me directions while my friends mess around further down the path. As I'm talking, I'm pacing around and looking to the sides, realize we're actually near the field where I saw the big deer. Finish the call, turn around. One of the 3 deer is standing behind me, maybe a foot away at most. Doesn't look aggressive or anything, just curious, staring right at me. Stare right back at it, don't want to frighten it because I don't mean it any harm. Realize it's close to perfect for a deer, like a depiction you'd see in a book or a film. It's clean and its fur looks very bright. Most of the deer in the area are on the skinnier and dirtier looking side. Friends see the deer so close to me, and start goofing around, just saying silly things. Deer looks at them, then turns around and walks off, completely lost interest. Friends and I give up after yet more walking, head back. MFW Dad says we were a few feet from the shrine. Tell Dad more about excursions down the canal. You should show them the shrine. The what? He explains that the shrine is a statue to the Virgin Mary along the canal, with benches and places for prayer under it. I have never seen this before in my life. Very curious now, tell friends. Go during the weekend with 2 of them, keep walking. And walking. And walking. Get to the part with the house, it's around noon. I am unafraid this time, start scanning the horizon. There are deer watching me. Friend comments that they look kinda big, and I realize they are really big for deer, at least compared to the deer typically spotted in the area. See 3 of them, find it very fascinating, but a little unnerving. They just watch us as we move along. Keep walking, still no shrine in sight. Realize I never asked my dad for directions. Friends call me a retard, deservedly so. We go off to a side path, walk some more, realize we can see a suburb at the end of this long path and that we're going the wrong way. Call Dad, it's his day off. Gives me directions while my friends mess around further down the path. As I'm talking, I'm pacing around and looking to the sides, realize we're actually near the field where I saw the big deer. Finish the call, turn around. One of the 3 deer is standing behind me, maybe a foot away at most. Doesn't look aggressive or anything, just curious, staring right at me. Stare right back at it, don't want to frighten it because I don't mean it any harm. Realize it's close to perfect for a deer, like a depiction you'd see in a book or a film, it's clean and its fur looks very bright. Most of the deer in the area are on the skinnier and dirtier looking side. Friends see the deer so close to me, and start goofing around, just saying silly things. Deer looks at them, then turns around and walks off, completely lost interest. Friends and I give up after yet more walking, head back. MFW Dad says we were a few feet from the shrine.
Okay, here we go. I never believed in any supernatural nonsense, but this one thing have changed that for me. I studied history on my uni and we were obliged to taka one archaeology practice during studies. Me and my friends have decided to go to ruins of old Teutonic Castle in Missouri. There was place for 6 people. We thought it will be chill out because there are lakes and shit around, so it will be 4 hours work during day and partying during night. The guy that was a local manager for the thing gave us 2 rooms inside. Conditions were shitty, but it was free. One other guy that worked there said that the castle ruins are haunted, but he said it in a laughing manner, so we thought it was bullshit for tourists. As I said, I never believed in such things. And there were these things happening, small and like you always a doubt if it isn't something you or other person did and forgot. Like electric teapot would suddenly turn on and no one touched it. Once during night we was woken up by a sound, windows starting, my computer turned on. Inside building there was a constant lack of signal on mobiles. The lights were switching on and off. All of this could be rationalized. You could always find explanation that didn't involve supernatural things, but the amount of them was really creepy. We were there for a month. After a week we got used to it. We were joking, like when a teapot turned on someone asked, "Hey ghost, you also want some instant ramen?" Generally you got used to it. The weird noises in the night? Well, it is an old building, so it makes noises. The electrical appliances turning on and off? Well, the electrical installation was last renovated in 80s by drunk communist workers who didn't care. Really scary stuff started 5 days to our departure. At the beginning there was a guy that also stayed with us for the night to control if we could be trusted and won't break anything. After 2 weeks he decided that it is okay for us to stay alone. Second part, 5 nights till departure. There were 6 of us, 4 guys in 1 room, 2 girls in other. Around 11 in the evening one of the girls comes screaming into our room asking who have throw all of her shit out of her bag and that there was some sort of makeup shit in glass bottle that is now broken. Nobody went into that room except her. The other girl was out for 4 hours on the shore of the lake with 1 guy. The 3 of us were sitting and drinking beer in the small kitchen, and for at least 2 hours no one went upstairs. We went back with her to the room to check what happened. And there were 3 beds flipped over. No way that the girl did it. She said that the beds were normal 5 minutes before when she was there. We were sure that there was no one beside us there. All of us were really scared at that point. An hour after it the other girl came back with the last guy. They met us outside and pale. We told them what happened and decided to call the manager in the morning, also to talk with the other people working there. Girls were really scared, so we decided that everyone will sleep in one room and went back. During the night we have not slept. All night long you could hear steps and rhythmical hits. Seriously, it was the most scary night in my life. I remember that from 2 to 5 I held a reproduction of a Teutonic sword in my hand just in case. And in the morning there was the most creepy thing. A big block of red bricks, that weighed more than a ton, that we dug out few days before was moved like 20 meters. No way a person could do that. There was no signs of it being dragged. There was no way a heavy-duty lifter could do it. We would have heard that. After that night we decided not to sleep in the castle and found a small hotel instead for the last 4 days. Young kid at the time, maybe like 8 to 10 ? Elderly neighbor who had enormous apple trees, got the house from his parents, had been living in the neighborhood forever, would give me a few dollars if I used this long wooden hook to get him his apples every now and then. One day after doing that for him he invites me inside for some iced tea. We get inside, he gets me drink. We are standing around in the kitchen, and then he looks out the window and stares. I want to tell you a story. Said 40 years ago a bunch of people from high school came to the area to party. The neighborhood was essentially one large circle with hills in the middle of the woods with houses on the sides here and there, so people use the woods to drink and fuck around. And often, said one night he was watching this one group hang out getting drunk nearby in the woods. Eventually mostly everyone goes home and it is down to 2 guys. For some reason they start walking deeper and deeper into the woods until he can't see them anymore. He then said he heard screams, then absolute silence. Not be a cliche, but they were never seen again. Was in the newspapers and everything. Old man then just says it was the woods that got them. Finish my drink, my $3, and skedaddle. Those woods were always pretty creepy. A few weird things happened around there. Wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't just old and crazy imagining memories.
Fishing at river near a dam with friend. We start talking about a girl that had just died after a boat she was on went over the dam just upstream from us around a week earlier. We make our way over to an island in the middle of the river to fish. We notice shredded fiberglass and investigate. It's the girl's remains tangled up in the debris of the boat. Friend almost trips on a long bone with some flesh still attached as we're backing away from what we just came upon. Right after this, the siren for the dam opening goes off. We make our way to the side of the river just in time. Out of nowhere storm clouds fill the sky and it starts storming. We make it back to his truck and wait out the storm. Go check out the memorial site that the girl's family members set up at the top of the dam. We look over at the water near the edge of the dam and notice 3 hippies that looked straight out of Woodstock, 69 skinny dipping while the dam was open. We both see them all go underwater at the same time and never came up. Me and my friend agree that it's the craziest shit that has ever happened to either of us.
Velp, here we go. Be like 14, just seen a band live with a friend, go back to his and stay the night. He's super weird about his sleep patterns, so we go to bed at like 11, start talking about random shit. All of a sudden he just stops talking for like 10 minutes, finally does this weird inhale scream sound which woke me up, says it's just a joke. Dude, WTF.jpg. He starts talking about weird shit like what it's like to die and how because it was so dark there could be people dangling above our heads as we speak and we wouldn't know. He talks more creepy shit for a while. We finally stow talking and start settling down to sleep. All of a sudden creepy broken music box music starts to play. Sounds right outside his room. We both sketch the fuck out. It stops. We both try to rationalize, get even more spooked that we couldn't come to a logical conclusion. I then see 2 weird deep-set glowing eyes under his bed staring right at me. The eyes start to change and look like they have a real shit-eater grin on. Nope. Finally fall asleep encased in a sleeping bag of paranormal protection. He complains I ranted about an old man in my sleep. Never talk about how he acted weird. That's not all either. There's been a few creepy things happen while I've stayed at his house before. It used to be a barn with a farmhouse attached apparently. Spooky shit.
I never post anymore, so here as goes. It's a pretty quick story. Be me 15. Live in apartment building that used to be hospital. Activity happens constantly, ghosties, voices, poltergeist type spoopy stuff, things come escalate, wake up from dreams spooked out, happens quite of 10.jpg, feel something watching me, really strong feeling of evil, turn over and see massive black figure, dressed in all black cloak. Couldn't see face but know it's demonic, creepy claw hands and everything. Rub my eyes thinking I'm dreaming. MFW I'm not dreaming. Evil thing disappears. TFW my baby sister sees something similar walking outside of the apartment. She was young and could only describe its appearance as the Grim Reaper. I noped so much while living there.
Be me, laying in bed at about 1 a.m. on my phone, look up, at the foot of my bed is this lady with what looks like blood spattered in her hair glaring at me. For some reason, instead of feeling fear I feel this deep resentment of the bitch and glare right back. She grabs me by the ankle and drags me across the bed. I kick and start screaming. She screams right back, disappears. I GTFO and walk to my buddy's house. We live near each other. Nothing like it has happened since in that house, but I'm still seriously considering moving out, and I sleep on the couch now.
Shitty Exgf doesn't have a car, have to wake up and take her to work every day at 3 a.m. Thank God we live together or it will be a bitch. Work is nearby so drop her off, heading home, going down road, car behind me old 1980s car nice black and doesn't look a day old. My car just randomly shuts off, car behind me stops, old and asks if I need help. Told him it's probably a dead battery and we need to jump it off. He smiles and laughs and says, "Son, do you believe in God? Does it matter?" He just ignores my questions and slaps the top of my car. Car cranks up without me in it or my keys. Well son, you should. He just drives off. His license plate was A1A13. Not many people believe me, in fact the cops couldn't find the guy either.
I actually have a really similar story, but no one died in my house so I can't explain it. Be about 11? Be living with an older sister but we both have our own room. Be a little after lunch on a weekend and my mother wants to take a nap, says if I am quiet in my room I can stay up, so I go to my room and quietly watch TV. Be watching on carpet because hard to see TV in bunk beds. About 1 hour into nap my TV shuts off. I remember the remote is on the bed, look behind me at bunk beds and there's something staring back at me. Think it's my sister but it has large green eyes. Run out of my room, fucking nope. Mom yells at me to get back in my room. Go back and the TV is on again and the eyes are gone. This still gives me the fucking creeps to this day.
Last year I was staying at a friend's house because I was traveling the next day.
Now the house my friend lives in is secluded. It isn't in a populated area and the spacing of these houses are quite large and not a lot of noise can be heard in that area. It's a very quiet place to live with very little traffic. My friend is a guitarist and sometimes does small venues or street performing in his spare time. Anyway, when I was over there he was about to put strings on his guitar. It's a fairly new acoustic, uses nylon strings.
The guitar had no strings on it when I arrived and because he was
putting new ones on but left it bare when I showed up, so he put the guitar away with no strings on it. So as the night went on we were speaking and I finally decided to call it a night and sleep in the spare room. He went to bed shortly after. This was around 11:30. I was stirred from my sleep around 40 minutes later at the sound of very faint twanging. I went in my friend's room and he was asleep. I stayed still and could hear this twanging continue. It was very random in timing and got louder over time, so being concerned and freaked, I woke up my friend. As he woke up I motioned him to be silent and told him to listen. He could hear the same thing I could. The twanging sound. He then looked like he came to a shocking realization. He whispered, "It's the guitar string." Now both of us freaked the fuck out, mustered up the bravery to go in the other room and see what it was. When we got in the room nothing seemed out of the ordinary and came to a hastily agreed conclusion that it was something else outside. As we were leaving my friend gasped like he stood on fucking Lego and told me to look on the table. I looked and there was a string, a nylon string that would go on his guitar, a brand new string that he bought that day that he was going to put on his guitar. The old ones were all thrown out in the trash. In a haste we checked the new packet of strings and to our absolute perplexity the pack was open. It was open perfectly, like it was cut with the finest pair of scissors. Looking in, a string was missing, the D string. Looking back at the string on the table we were disturbed. It felt very ominous in that room. It felt looking back at it like we were lured there. Looking around outside the room felt very terrifying. It was only then we heard a twang so violent and distorted I was so scared I was sweating. Building back up what little courage we had, we went back in the room and to our sheer horror and amazement we found that string snapped and between the two pieces was a gap at least 20 to 20 centimeters. I've never stayed since and my friend is looking to move out, as it seems to be reoccurring.
Not sure if this counts since it's not over the top, but I'll throw it in anyways. B12, sharing my phone with my mom since she broke hers. There are times where I have to give it to her at night for a reason I can't really remember anymore. Never really offer to give it to her. She has to ask. One day I'm tired of it and just mumble to myself, do I give it to her tonight? Get a very audible, don't, in response. Voice sounded feminine, but regardless I'm freaked out. Run to my parents' room to tell them what happened. My mom says she doesn't need my phone and that it was probably just my conscience speaking to me. Know for a fact that that's bullshit, but leave it be. There's also another instance that happened in the same house that was just as brief. Come out of my bedroom and go downstairs for whatever reason. Right next to my bedroom is a bathroom. See the back heel of a foot enter the bathroom and close the door behind it. Assume it's my mother or brother. Go downstairs and see that they're both down there. Get confused. Tell them what I saw and go back to check the bathroom. Open the door and see that it's dark and no one is in there. Be confused as fuck.
Alright. Around 4 years ago my friend/neighbor invited me to a campout on his parents' farm. I couldn't make it, I told him, because I had to work early the next morning. Luckily a co-worker owed me a favor and I switched shifts so I could get the next day off. I decided this would be a golden opportunity to scare the absolute fuck out of everyone I knew in one glorious go. I had about 4 miles of fields and forest between Maine and the campsite. One issue, I had to go through one freaky bit of forest. Animals avoid it late at night, area has a weird feel to it all the time, acoustics are a little funky, not a place I like to spend any time, let alone any time at night. So at around 12 I slip out of the house, full camo and face paint, no cell phone or light, could give me away, only the clothes on my back and my buck knife. Nice night, kinda warm but cooling off, nice big ol' moon putting out just enough light to see. So I start hiking. I cover a good bit of distance with no incident until I hop the fence near that freaky bit of forest and keep on walking, moon shining just enough for me to see the worn deer trail. Which is when things start to get strange. As I walking I start to feel a bit uneasy. I'm used to walking in the woods at dark but something just seemed off. I pushed the thought out of my mind and took another step. Snap, small branch breaking followed a few steps later by another snap. I think, get your shit together or they are going to hear you coming. Snap. Pop. Snap. I stop and look down at my feet. What the fuck am I walking on a stick factory? And I see nothing but bare fucking dirt. Not a twig underfoot. I turn my head and look down the trail and again I see not a stick on the moonlit path. Standing still, I take a breath and push that thought out of my mind, just a raccoon or something. And that when I notice nothing. Not one single fucking thing. Not a cricket, not an owl, not a frog. Silence. The hair on my neck stands on end. Snap followed by a few hollow thumps coming from behind me and to the right. I start to jog down the trail, but behind me I can still hear something creeping up on me, twigs snapping or a brush of a branch. I stop again and listen. I feel the wind on my face, and catch a slight shadow out of the corner of my right eye. Snap, another branch breaks underfoot in the brush beside me. Engaging the nope train to fuck this shitville. I know that there is an open field up ahead, and I figure if I make it there I can at least see what is behind me. I'm a pretty fast dude, I'm really sprinting down this path, adrenaline and all, and whatever the fuck it was stayed right with me, always just out of sight. All I could hear was the sounds of it moving. I break into the clearing and fucking grass up to my waist. I can hear the grass behind me sliding against something and I realize this thing is right behind me. I also realize no one knows where I am, and I have no way to call for help. It's faster than me. I'm all alone here. Fuck this, I'm going out fighting. I swing around and draw my knife expecting to see a coyote or something. When I look back all I can see is the grass parting like someone is running at me, but there is nothing there. It was like that scene from Jurassic Park with the raptors in the field. I could see the ripple in the grass but nothing was there. I yelled, "What the fuck are you?" And the thing stopped. Like maybe 8 feet away. I would have thought it was the wind and my imagination, but there was a fucking imprint in the grass like someone was just standing there. I just stood there dumbfounded. Then whatever it was turned and started walking away. I watched each step. Watched that grass move like fucking magic. Then turned and ran like a bitch, made it to a creek and stood in the middle looking for footsteps in the water. Whatever it was took one step into the creek and realized its mistake. Then took off again. It didn't follow me after that. TLDR. I was stalked by something that I couldn't see other than by the impression it made on the shit around it. Much like Predator.
Since this thread is still up, I'm going to throw out something that happened last night. I'm more wondering what you guys think this might have been. Fast asleep. A sudden loud sound wakes me up, immediately. Something just outside my window. Sounds like a very large dog sort of coughing and dry heaving at the same time, very deep, kinda and almost bubbly. I'm jolted awake, but not scared, it's just the sound was so jarring that it woke me up the instant that I heard it. Listen to this weird cough-hacking bubbling sound. My first thought is I'm still dreaming, so I get out of bed. I'm wide awake. My cat, who sleeps on my bed with me, was frozen stiff, staring at the window. Again, I'm not scared at all, so I go to peek out my blinds to see what TF this sound is. Definitely sounds animal, so I'm expecting to find a stray or something. As soon as I open the blinds I am fucking terrified. No cause for it, just instantly afraid. There's nothing outside. The sound has stopped. I'm just staring through the window afraid to move. Feel like something's looking back at me. I almost feel like throwing up. Back away from the window. Still looking at it when I hear the same gurgling cough sound again. It literally sounds like a huge animal is doing it, but in there was nothing there. I back up into bed and lie there listening to it, wondering if anybody else hears it. Eventually stops and I don't hear it again. Feel too afraid to sleep. My rational mind wants to say this was just the pipes in my house acting up, but I heard it outside my window. What the fuck?
I once had a dream which involved a monster. Be me. Be lucid dreaming. Be using imagined powers to destroy targets and such. Unlimited power.jpg. Get bored. In dream scream at the top of my lungs and challenge whoever dares face me to a fight. Everything seems to get darker. Out of the corner of my eye spot a figure. Get a better look at it. Massive and muscular bipedal figure like a mixture of man and various animals, and with a goat head with hands big enough to crush a watermelon. Try to use dream powers to summon lighting from my fingers. MFW, it doesn't work. The thing charges at me and punches me multiple times. Feel every inch of pain. Try to run but it grabs my foot. Try to fight back since I am perfectly aware that this is a dream. Nope, my punches and strikes barely scratch it. It gives me a strong as fuck gut punch. I get launched back. It wipes the floor with me and starts laughing. Pure terror.jpg. Try to wake up to no avail. Try to scream but it doesn't work. Eventually manage to wake up. Wake up terrified as fuck. Still feel the pain from the fight for a few minutes after waking up.
Have a story about the time my roommate, co-worker used a Ouija board. Be me. In Alaska. Live where I work. It's a sweet deal for anyone trying to run away or live as a drunk. Be both. Live in dorm. A very long manufactured hallways that's been divvied up into many rooms. Walls are thin. Here cheeks get clapped a lot. Lot of women always walking around in towels. Bathrooms have showers that get loaned out to rich boomers. Lotta old boomers walking around in towels. The drinking is an omnifunctional cope at great personal cost. Work the breakfast shift. See weird shit all the time because shift starts at 2 a.m. Fucking weirdos always come asking for sandwiches by 3 a.m. It's always 3 a.m. Have seen a grown man get stabbed to death while he screamed like a child. It was just after 3 a.m. Fuck 3 a.m. Be a point in time like any other point in time. Alaska's geographic location along with my surreal work schedule make for a poor sense of time. Definitely around 2 a.m. because I've started working. There's a party going on outside because all the regular hour workers party. Partied with them before my shift to get some fun in. Unfazed. Didn't drink enough. Cracking 200 plus eggs for who knows how many months in a row now. Have cracked a lot of eggs. The horror. One of my co-workers comes in. Call him Ron. Ron's more drunk than usual. Generally laid back. Tells me. One of the girls has a Ouija board. You want to check it out? Explain that I have professional obligations. Offer a rain check. Ron gets a Coke and leaves. Making pancake batter. More eggs. Ouija girl comes in. It's exactly who I thought it was. Call her Mel. Mel is only kind of drunk. Asks if I'm serious about the Ouija. Starts telling me it's SRSBSNSS. Want to tell her that the pancake batter is actual SRSBSNSS and her BS is distracting me. Don't, because we live together in our giant hallway building. Pretty sure I've heard this woman get dildoed by one of the hyper-aggressive lesbian doms. Don't want animosity. Want alcohol. Tolerate the pseudo-occult/religion attitude. Totally spiritual. Listen to her while I make breakfast food preparations. Finish pancake batter. French toast wash is next. More EGGS. My kingdom for the eggs. Mix all the stuff together. Mel asks me if I've been listening. Work in kitchens all adult life. Can listen. Only ever listen. Some retard 20 feet away from me in my life will yell at full volume to the point of hoarseness something about potatoes, but because kitchens are loud and there are several other people yelling at me in similar manner as previously mentioned about things that aren't potatoes, I have overly developed hypervigilance. Drinking is a fair trade. Repeat to Mel what she's been saying. Mel cuts me off. Get cut off a lot. She agrees to meet on my day off with Ron to summon spirits. Cool. Kinda stoked. Will be the most interesting thing I've done in the months I've been here. Get hyped for a job where every 3 weeks is a 3-day weekend with flights to different areas the company has properties in. Have only had 1-day weekends since arriving. Drinking is a fair trade. Will use my next 1 day to Ouija board the spirits. Continue working for 5 days. Do laundry and get fucked up in afternoon while everyone else is working. Day drinking with the best of them. There aren't any others, so be the best of them. Constantly tempting management to day drink with me. Gaff if they don't like it because I haven't gotten what was promised. Missing all the salmon action. Too far north to hike anywhere with salmon. Literally in the parking lot drinking with guests. Drinking with other employees who are on their weekends. Just a general bad influence. No violence though. Gonna get people to dance. Probably got some boomers laid. Vibe on through the week. Crack those eggs. Definitely half mad from eggs. Thinking about wandering in forests more than normal. The 1 day off rolls around. Asns cry every team. Completely expecting Ron and Mel to have genuinely forgotten. Don't have to work at 2. Don't sleep all day. Just get fucked up. It's been day for a day. Woo. Drinking with the Alaskan Department of Transportation. Guys put in the good work and keep those roads nice. Michigan has no excuses. Jersey has a cultivated expectation of being shit. Not Alaska though. Roads are nice-ish. Weather gets rough. Boys roll out to do shit. On my own. Go to make a fire. Mel finds me. Says she's roped another co-worker in. Tomboy named Tess. Has a shotgun. Smokes weed. Makes her own wine out of the local berry varieties. The best kind of liberal. Guns and drugs. Everyone else can gtfo. Glowies too. Fuck glowies. All my homies hate glowies. Tess wants to talk to the dead with us. Astonished that these people remembered plans. Hella stoked. Gotta find Ron. Get my handle of liquor. Get my backpack. Get the big knife. Get the big revolver. Meet up with Tess and Mel. Ron is supposedly finishing his shift in the rooms near the junkyard. The hotel is next to a junkyard. We found hidden treasure in the junkyard that had to be translated by a German co-worker in an RV that was hidden by foliar growth and other vehicles. That's another story, was cool and WHOLESOME. Don't get a lot of wholesome. Find Ron. He's still got rooms to do. We all offer to help Ron. He declines because he wants those fucking hours, boy. Mad respect to Ron. Have to wait. Offer to go in the woods and make fire to kill time. Co-workers don't want to. Don't need any of this gear. Sad. Go back to main compound. Go to a big tent. There's a wood-burning stove in it. Make a fire. Drink with co-workers. Other co-workers show up. Party happens. Play beer pong and flip cup again. Played a lot of that. Really good at both now. Lot of co-workers now. Mel's hyping up the Ouija board. Bout to get a 15-person spirit fest rolling. Just waiting on Ron. Someone busts out the weed. They're all busting out pipes. Off up bugler cigarette paper. It's a superior product. Everybody's fucked up. Ron arrives. Bro's sober af. He asks Mel about the Ouija board. Mel didn't bring it. She has to go get it. Mel leaves with Ron to get the board. Beseech the good people if they want food. Receive capital. Go to the kitchen to get copious amounts of tater tots and bacon. Wait on the order. Rehydrate. Always drink water with your liquor or beer. Have some Powerade too. Get food. Go outside. Tent has a strobe light going on. Dope. Go to tent and enter. Shit's weird, bruh. Holding giant bowl of tater tots and bacon. Ron's standing on the table. Carpenter Brute, Division Ruin is blasting through the wireless sound system. Not sure where the strobe light is. They let the fire get smoky or put a fog machine in there was my train of thought. Look at everyone else. They're all holding hands and looking up at Ron. Their eyes are rolled back. Think this is a well-concerted effort. Ron is staring down at me from the table. His head is tilted forward. Like he's trying to do the Kubrick stare. But he's above me and looking down. The affect is I'm looking at a man with a double chin look at me. Ask Ron what's up. Tell Ron what the appropriate response is to this. Ron says Ron isn't here right now. Want to call Ron a faggot, but this is poor company to use such fitting slander. Tell Ron he's being lame. Tell everyone else good job for the eyeballs. It's gotta be painful. They don't stop. Just staring at Ron. Ron tells me to stop fooling around. Ask if I was. Ron gets angry and there's fucking wind in the tent. Think there might be ghost. Hate this. Set the snack bowl down. Ask Ron if this is real. Ron ask if this real. Ron makes of the point of me being incapable of telling. Tell Ron to do something spookier. Everything flashes black and red for a moment. See co-workers, but they were? Chained? Hooked? Bloody? It looked torturous, horrendous, and an all-around bad time. Was only for a split second though. Scared TF out of me. Want Ron to chill. Ron asks if I can tell now. Share with Ron that I am adequately spooked. Ron says his name isn't Ron. Says his name Thekmer Breedmaker. I'd cow to spell that shit. Ask Mr. Breedmaker what he wants. Says he wants to spread my bussy like butter. Tell the vile abomination to slow down. Begin to channel my inner Protestant. Reciting Psalms. Haven't practiced in years. Can't quite remember the one about the shadow of the valley of darkness. Drunk. Yelling begone shadow of the valley of the darkness. Thekmer is unaffected. Calls me pathetic and knocks me on my ass with demon power. Stand up. Threaten to shoot Ro. Thekmer in his chest if he doesn't fuck off into some pigs. Tells me to do it. It's fine by him. Either way he wins. Thekmer is right. No one would understand. Also wouldn't ever let them take me alive. Yell the name of Jesus Christ with veneration. Recite Proverbs. The stops me and says that won't work. The demon says it's not a whore. Tells me to try again. Unsure of what to do. The old man only ever yelled Psalms and Proverbs at me. He hated women. He didn't drink at all though. Realize what must be done. Start chugging my handle of whiskey. Use its power to break the seals of my youth. Beget ancestors and imbibe in my heritage. Channel my inner Irish Catholic. Fuse it with my Protestant superiority complex. Overcharge the faith. The Christ is with this sinner. The demon asks chidingly what I'm doing. Respond in the old tongue. Neither of us know what I said. How drunk are you? Drunk enough to beat both our wives. Learn Thekmer doesn't have a wife. Gaff. Use the vague nature of scripture to deem myself a holy man. Bless the water content of my remaining liquor. It's 60% holy water now. Remember the ghost puncher. Pour it all over. Threaten the demon with the holy liquor. Demon tells me to chill out. Draw the big knife. Pour the god's nectar over it. Tell Thekmer Ron will forgive me for having carved a crucifix into his butt cheek. The demon is sweating. Asking me ease off. Ask the demon if it's a bitch. The demon says it ain't no bitch. Tell it to do shots of this liquor in Jesus' name. The demon a bitch. Nah brah, not that bottle. Lol FGT. Demon magic smacks the knife out of my hand. It disappears in the fog. Tighten grip on the bottle. Gonna force a feed on the good juice. Charge him. Jump over the handhold. On the table. Tackle Ron. Liquor bottle in the mouth. The demon freaks. See it leave Ron. Ron is out cold and sweating. Demon isn't gone though. Mel calls me a mean name. Says nigger like a million fucking times in a row. It's kinda funny. Mel starts floating. The rest of the group pull me off the table and hold me down. Start telling me how cool I'd be if I got gender reassignment. No, that's alright. Telling me how brave I'd be if I got breasts. Whoa, chill out. Anon, don't you think black men are beautiful? No, I'm not gay. Come on Anon, don't you want to get peed on? What? Gat. Know the demon's true name. Yell for it to reveal itself. R. Kelly. Not even a demon. Ask WTF he's doing. Says he's astral projecting from his piss fortress in Kanken. Let the bacon and tater tots get cold for this. Threaten him with legal action and that if he didn't vacate immediately his lawyers would be hearing from my lawyers. The demon whines a little then leaves. Everyone returns to their positions at the table like robots. Fog goes away. Strobe goes away. Ron gets off the table and sits in a chair. They all put their hands on the board and say goodbye R. Kelly. They start blinking and asking what happened. Tell them they were possessed by R. Kelly's superior occult ability. Offer them bacon and tater tots. We all just sorta chill out. Get pancreatitis from this job. Leave job when contract is up. Have to rethink lifestyle. Start screwing around in the forest. Now just do magic with twigs and communists all day. They're expendable.
B7, staying the night at grandma's house, sleeping in the same room as my cousin, hear train horns for half an hour outside in the distance, ask cousin where the train is, cousin annoyed that I woke him up, says there are no trains or tracks nearby, swear I can hear them, he can't, try to sleep anyway, train horns keep going off, crack the door to the room, no TV's on, house is dead quiet, too scared to check out the window, turn light on, awake the entire night, hearing the train and trying not to cry, next day comes, everything is normal again, never hear the horns again, was someone fucking with me?
Age 18, go to visit a place called Monte Cristo, an apparently very haunted place in Australia. Me mum and brother go, excited for ghostly shit, no ghost tours, just a stately tours of the house during the day, let down. Tiff, wander around the house but we get pretty tired of it pretty quickly, wander out of the house with mum and brother, turn left and through this little alleyway into a courtyard thing where there are stables and a few little hut things, on the way begin to feel extremely tired, exhausted, ma and brother walk out in front as I lag behind, they continue to the stables, feel an odd compulsion to walk into the hut to my right immediately at the courtyard, not a voice telling me to or anything, just a compulsion. Go in and stand at the door staring at the fireplace for a solid 10 to 20 seconds, come to my senses, feel not tired anymore and return to ma and brother. Later on when leaving I tell my bro about what happened, said I thought it was weird. Dude, that's the room where a kid went in and shot the caretaker. He carved die Jack haha into the back of that door. Pick related, nope the fuck out, may not sound very scary but it was fucking off-putting for me. Had no idea about the room until my brother told me. Figured I was just hot though and that made me tired. Australia is hot.
Southern WV? I'm in Milton. I guess I may as well post now. Hanging out with my two best friends. Returned to one of their houses at around 10 p.m. during winter but there was no snow on the ground. We're just talking outside and enjoying the night. All of a sudden, hear this male scream from the woods. This is West Virginia so the woods are fucking everywhere. All hell breaks loose. Herd of cows down the road begin mooing obnoxiously. We're puzzled and wary. Now, one of my friends is tall and fit, and has good survival instincts. The other not so much. Fit bro and I begin scoping around our position. Tree in the neighbor's yard cracks and briefly bends, spooking us. To the left of the tree, across the small road is a small lot of the woods recently cleared. Leaves an obvious boundary between the woods and our living territory. We start hearing snaps of twigs in the woods. Tell incompetent bro to get us a flashlight from inside. He comes back and we shine it into the woods. It's a considerable distance, but we catch something. Eyes, fucking dozens of white eyes gleaming at us from the tree lines. Some are swaying, others are stepping back out of view only to reposition and become visible elsewhere in the tree line. Fit bro and I are scared. Incompetent bro's eyesight must be shit because he says he didn't see anything and gets mad at us. On second thought, he probably just didn't want to see it. We're standing around 10 yards from the front door and light, and around 30 from the tray line so we aren't bolting for safety. The eyes just watch us. We also hear small growls every now and then. I'm not shitting you, there were dozens of sets of eyes. Only body glimpses we catch are low to the ground and pale, but too distant to be identified. This tense standoff lasts around an hour before around 10 sets of the eyes disappear. That's when we heard skulking from all sides of the woods, surrounding our position. Another scream breaks out and something heavy slams into some distant tree trunk. Nope inside and don't leave for 2 more hours. Never talk about it again. Sorry if there isn't any coherence, I'm posting on my phone and just woke up. We only ever saw the eyes one other time, but it was uneventful and dull.
Being in a bar at Canada. Get somewhat drunk and end up talking with the American Marine. We talk shit and become total brothers instantly. Try to pick up some girls and act like complete fools, nobody gives a fuck. At the end we find out that we live in the same hotel. Not even that big coincidence, the hotel is the only one in a few mile radius. Finally I'm at his hotel room and it's almost 4 a.m. I'm about to leave, we exchange phone numbers. Marine dude stops me before I leave. Says he wants to show me something before I go. Hey, wanna see something? I get the feeling that he'll whip his dick out and think how I react. He goes to get a weird looking box. There's a medal in the box. That's the Medal of Honor bro. Holy fuck. I had no idea that he was a veteran. I thought about it for a while and asked where he served. He tells me that basically the answer should be Afghanistan but he was in special ops somewhere in the Middle East. Won't tell me where. He asks if I want to hear something really disturbing. Answer fuck yes because I'm quite drunk. He starts telling the story. Towards the end of his career his group had an order to attack some terrorist hideout in middle of some hellhole. Well, let's go kill some bad guys then. When they arrived, there was almost none resistance. They killed a few people who fired at them. The rest surrendered and almost begged to become prisoners. Something really fucking strange is going on now. They interviewed a prisoner. He said to walk about 2 miles into the east. That's all they got out of him, even with the advanced interviewing techniques. He had a little grin when he said that. Well, move on, squad. 4 soldiers went on to check what's going on. After about 2 miles of walking they found a really big tarpaulin. Just spread on the ground. Not just left there. There was a really big hole under it. The hole is filled with gray, fucking disgusting, rotten bodies. They get the fuck out of there pretty fast. At that point I tried some comedic relief and asked if any bricks were shat. His exact words. Nah man, we were hardcore spec ops fuckers, corpses don't scare us. What made us leave was that they were still moving man. He tells me that they took few guys more with them and a guy who had a video camera for documentation purposes. Guy with a camera took some footage of the bodies squirming in the hole. They did a quick body count. About 10 gray bodies slowly turning and crawling in the hole, trying to get out. Then he says that suddenly he felt something weird on his boot. Oh look, one of them grabbed my leg. Scared shitless, he took a knife and cut the fucker off. I asked how the hell did he manage to do that without tactically shitting himself. Special forces are fucking hardcore. Then he told me that some lieutenant or whoever told that everyone who saw the bodies must report to some place. Then all the interrogation and the bullshit. They took that one guy's video camera. No questions answered. Said that nobody must not tell anyone about this. They threatened to tell anyway and then there was a promise. If you don't do a thing, all you will get a Medal of Honor which includes also money and all the other shit. They all agreed. Then he told me if I want to see something even more awesome. He told me to open the box with the Medal of Honor. I removed the medal and the stuffing under it. And there the fucking wretched, disgusting gray finger. I never looked it for long because I almost vomited on his Medal of Honor at that point. But I can swear the finger crooked a little bit. Yeah bro, I wasn't kidding. I think that this is some sick joke. He says that he might tell anyway now. And I can tell the story too. Eventually I say goodbye and I go to my hotel room. Next morning I see him in the lobby handing over the keys to the hotel room. He shakes my hand and promises to offer me a beer next time. Next week I try to call him. Phone number isn't real. Never had a chance to contact him again. Haven't heard from him since.
I'll go. OC. Greater than 15 years old. Big fan of horror movies. Read that there is going to be a horror film event in the city and that a few theaters will be showing some classics on the big screen. Ask my parents to take me, they say no. Cut a deal where they will drop me off at the park and ride near our house and I will take the bus into the city but I will only have a short amount of time, 2 movies, because of bus schedule on the weekend. Have to go before sunset, will miss the big crowds 9 which is great. I plan to go see the original Dracula and then go nearby to see the Wolfman. I hop off the bus and fuck. I got off 3 stops too early, the schedule was all weird because of an arts festival, which I didn't know. I figure I will whack the rest of the way. Go 2 blocks, see a theater that I don't know, the Merkey says, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Wow. I love that movie and didn't see it on the list. Walk over, the movie starts in 10 minutes. I buy a ticket, turns out it is the original and the remake, back to back. Sweet. The guy who takes my ticket is dressed up in an usher's costume. Must be for the movie event. The building is old and pretty run down. I get a popcorn and a Coke, the bottle is small. Go to the theater, only 3 screens. I sit middle, 3 rows back. Place is a little musty. Film starts, I am completely into it. Hear people come into the theater behind me. Film ends, intermission screen goes up. I need to pee, go to leave. See other people already leaving. backs to me. The guys are in suits, the girls in dresses, must be a vintage thing with the movies. Get another popcorn and one of those weird little bottles of Coke. Head back in. More of the same, watch the film, really enjoy it. People behind me in the theater, they talk a bit, but too quiet to hear the words. I hear a girl gasp at a jump scene, etc. Movie ends, everyone else is already leaving. Old guy waiting with a broom to sweep up. Head back to the bus stop, take the bus back to the park and ride. Mom picks me up. Told her I had a great time, really enjoyed it. Tell her the films I saw, she hadn't seen them on the list, either. Get home, talk to Dad, he's glad I had fun. Watch some TV, go to bed. More. Next weekend I am talking about the movies, again, and just say you know, I had never been to the Rivoli Theater before. It was nice, if old. My parents look at me funny. The Rivoli, says Dad, one of the theaters changed its name. No, I went to the Rivoli. No, one of them must have called itself that for the festival. Maybe. But then why don't we ever go to the theater on Washington? Mom, there isn't a theater on Washington, not since they tore down the Rivoli, years ago. At this point we were all confused. My parents swear there hasn't been a theater on Washington since the year I was born and they tore down the Rivoli. I know I saw a movie in an old theater on Washington. I explained to my dad 4 to 5 times how I got off on the wrong stop, the route I took, and he agrees that that would take me to where the Rivoli used to be. I figure someone reopened it. No, we would know, etc. Finally, all of us frustrated, Dad throws us all in the car and we drive to town, Mom in the back, me in the passenger seat to tell him where I went. Drive to the bus stop and I tell him exactly how I went. Follow the directions. I recognize the drugstore on the corner, the weird-ass nail salon sign, everything. Get to the theater. It is an empty lot, fenced off with, no trespassing, signs. Full of old weeds, even a small tree, sign is rusty. Been that way for a long time. I am shaking in fear. I was all ready for my parents to apologize to me and, there is nothing there. Where the fuck did I go? My mom is pissed off in the back seat. Starts chewing my ass for lying. Dad can see my face, he knows I am freaking out, he is real still for a minute. Quiet down, honey. Anon just made a mistake. Right, Anon. Yeah. A mistake. I must have gone down 3 more blocks to the AMC, I guess. Mom calms down SME, but teases me all the way home. Dad doesn't say anything. While I was in college my sophomore year my mom died in a car accident. Dad retired early the next year, started selling custom furniture from the garage. While I was home before senior year he told me stories of when he was a kid. Mentioned the Rivoli, how they used to sell the 6.5-ounce Coke bottles instead of from fountains, like now. Remember that weekend like it just happened. He saw the look on my face and changed the topic. After I graduated I got an apartment and moved out. Dad asked me to take everything I wanted to keep with me or put it in the basement. He was turning my room into a den. Sure. Go visit him a week later, he's drinking beer when I get there. Odd, he usually only has a beer with dinner. We talk for a while, he's tense, almost grim. Finally says, I found something behind your old desk when I moved it. I was a ticket stub, old but legible. Rivoli Theater, admit one. I threw it away. We've never mentioned it again.
B13 with other adolescent boys we broke into old farmhouse and vandalized pentagrams on wall and animal skeletons in old stove. We walked into living room and this thing was crouched in the corner, place was falling apart so a lot of light. We all saw it and all remember it. It wasn't some kind of arts and crafts project, it was a very tall and skinny female monster/demon with large black eyes. Decrepit looking. It had to hunch over when it stood up. It opened its mouth and it was a hiss/rattle sound. We ran through a boarded up window and my friend's brother was so badly cut in the stomach he had to go to ER for blood and stitches. This is remembered by us all because the brother almost fucking died. We don't know what it was.
Be me, 9 years old, throwing a baseball back and forth with my bro, clear, sunny summer day. I throw it to him and the ball gets stuck in midair, not like it stopped for a second, but just comes to a dead stop about 10 feet off the ground. We're just sort of staring at it confused. Walk underneath it and there's no reason it should be happening. It's totally motionless. About 10 seconds later it just immediately gets back the momentum it had and finishes its arc to where my brother had been standing. Didn't tell anyone because why? Play PS1 the rest of the summer because fuck that.
Alright/X/ I've got one. Be me about 9 years old, just moved to a brand new house that was literally just built. Sleep-in room above the garage, MFW the biggest room upstairs. I have windows on 3 sides and the door on the opposite side of the room in relation to my bed. Wake up in the middle of the night for no reason. See girl in nothing but a white gown with wet black hair. She has her hands together close to her face like she is praying and her head is bowed. Nope.X. Throw covers over my head at ludicrous speed. They'll keep me safe. Sip. Start praying profusely cause I'm terrified. After a while I must have fallen asleep. Never see her again. I don't know what I saw or who she was, but I do know that it wasn't a dream. If I ever see her again, which is unlikely, I will try to muster the courage to communicate.
This isn't that odd and definitely isn't paranormal, but happened to my friends and me when we were in like 8th grade and it spooked the shit out of us. Saturday night, good friend of mine's birthday sleepover. About 7 or 8 of us, after his parents cook us up burgers and hot dogs for dinner and we have cake. We all decide to play nighttime capture the flag. He clears it out with neighbors all up and down the block so we can use their backyards as well as his for the play area to make it more open. We all get our black clothes put on and start sneaking around and playing. After a few rounds several of us are in a neighbor's yard that's close to a nearby mom and pop owned convenience shop that's closed for the night. All of us in that area hear a loud bang and some glass shattering. Birthday boy runs to the edge of the yard and sees there is a car parked out front of the store. He knows the owners and tells us he thinks someone is breaking in. Rather than tell the parents, it's like midnight and we didn't want to wake anyone up. He convinces 2 or 3 of us to walk over and look. Like a bunch of 13-year-old dumbasses we do it. Walk up. The door to the store is hanging open. Pitch black inside. The car is just sitting there. Nothing going on as far as we can tell. The car's windows are tinted pretty dark so we can't see inside it. When one of us tries to peek in, we get uneasy and decide to walk back. Just as we get down the road about 100 feet away from the store's lot, that car suddenly starts up and rips out of that place peeling rubber and flies off the other direction down the road. We all immediately shit bricks and sprint back to the house. Wake parents up and tell them what happened. We get scolded and they call the police about it. Turns out later someone was bandying in the store that night. Nothing much was taken because the owners didn't keep money in there. We were all pretty spooked and stayed up all night talking about it.
Be me a couple months ago, live in new house in development, no weird old shit or anything, laying in bed, have trouble sleeping some nights, wake up feeling like I haven't slept for a second, like I remember being asleep, happens every so often. This night, laying there in that state, I swear it felt like evil was staring down on me. When in this state, I can't really move unless I really talk myself into it. I can barely explain it, actually terrified from what I'm feeling, finally able to tear my eyes open, exhale loudly, nothing there, get up, take piss, lay back down, fall back asleep, feel my bed moving, think it's my dog at first, bed starts feeling like a linebacker is pushing the training dummy around, wake up, nothing, nope fuck this anyway, it was about 4 AM, turn TV on to comfort myself. I am 27. I felt like a retard.
Be driving to gas station, live in EXO gas station is fucking 4 hours away, will have to refuel on the way, will refuel when gas station is reached, will buy fuel to refuel with that halfway mark to home, will buy fuel to refuel once home is reached, will buy enough fuel so this doesn't have to be done again for a while. Holy shit, almost hit a moose, fucking scared the shit out of me.
Holy shit, I just remember a pretty huge nope, which I wonder how the flying fuck I even managed to forget about it. B780, school's over, wanting to take a piss before I head back home, go to school's boys dubsy, starting to close the door to take a piss, behind the door I see motherfucking pick related, that's the best thing that describes it, it was like a huge brain sitting in a pool of blood. Nope, that fuck out of there, took me a couple of years to visit the toilet again.
Be me at like age 10, in large closet with mom, helping her sort through old stuff, hear little girl voice pleadingly say, "Mommy help," look at mom, she asks me if I heard it too, nope.com/too spooky for me, be me, in Florida at mom's house, aka grandma, little sister, mom, and grandma looking through photo albums, old ones. People who died in the 50s. Sister starts naming people. Is it spooky in here? Avi, mom and grandma ask sister how she knows the names. Sister says she sees them in her room at night. Secondhand note.
Be me around 9. Sister is like 4 or 5, sitting in living room watching TV after dark. Sister below me playing with a McDonald's toy or something. She looks up at me. Did you know all your blood can go through your whole body in less than 1 minute? I ask if mom or dad told her that. No. I was above your bed last night and I listened. Goes back to playing with toy. What? She claims today that she has experimented with astral projection. She goes through paranormal threads like I do and says that what people describe were her experiences when she was younger. I've never been able to do it, so I'm skeptical.
B15, home alone. Decide to take bath with door open. Chillin', tub fillin', splash face and feel pop of air in right ear. Bedroom window across hall open, must be windy outside. Sudge up face, rinse. Open eyes to see child-shaped clump of black shadow turn corner and charge toward tub. Jump out of tub. Run naked into living room, cry and call boyfriend. When we moved in we found baby toys in the vents and under the water heater. There was also a tiny handprint that seemed almost to be in the wood grain on the back of out front door that we couldn't wash off and darkened over time.
Laying on my back in bed, almost asleep. Feel a tap 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 on my forehead. Sit up to scold my cat who I assume is on the headboard above me. Cat sleeping on other side of headboard above my husband's head. Pull covers up over me, lay face down in pillow. Feel 5 fingers on back of my head form and gently push my face into the pillow. Never sleep again. I've got a bunch of nopes. Been experiencing a variety of paranormal activity over the last 4 years. Many of them from my bed. Laying in bed with husband. We both hear what sounds like me groaning from our kitchen. Just ignore it. Try to sleep. Can't. Try focusing on my husband's breathing for white noise. Hear and feel hot breath on the other side of me. And another. Laying in bed, hear what sounds like someone going through our kitchen cabinets. Neighbors on other side of our apartment getting a shower. Try to focus on water running for white noise. Feel hot breath in ear and hear get up. Sleep on living room floor with TV turned up. We had a family friend experience sleep paralysis on our living room floor once. He said something climbed on his back, pinned him with its knees and whispered in his ear, "Don't struggle."
Hey race, a weird one I got. I never got to meet my World War II vet grandpa, but he apparently told my dad this. Story came up one night when we were talking about Nazis and conspiracy theories. My old man said the reason he believed all that stuff was the following. May 1945. B. Grandpa. Early 20-something GI in the 3rd Infantry Div. Day or two before Nazi surrender. Krauts are done, fighting is pretty much over. Grandpa and his unit are now in a little town in southern Germany. His division took part in the battles for Munich and Nuremberg. Grandpa is exhausted from war. Happy it's nearly over. One day suddenly gets briefed by platoon leader about rumors of Nazi holdouts in the forests. Well fuck.png. Is told it's probably nothing but they gotta check it out anyway to be sure. Grandpa and his squad sent to survey area that locals said some SS ran off to before Americans arrived. Nothing in a woods, but they do notice one strange thing. Weird cave opening in otherwise pretty typical alpine forest. Decide to check it out. The guys think there might be some Nazi gold down there. Enter the cave. Pitch black. Grandpa and crew have to make their own light. Notice pretty quickly the cave interior was just darn strange. Had lighting installed, as well as signs, but looked like it hadn't been used for ages. Like, decades ages. Grandpa immediately questions this but keeps going into the cave. Gets the weirdest feeling as they go further. Couldn't really describe it, said it just felt wrong. Not fear, more like an existential epiphany. Definitely a Nazi cave. Had a bunch of munitions boxes but nothing of real value. Still though, something's off. Only one area they haven't really looked over yet. Grandpa walks in first. Is greeted by the most bizarre fucking thing. Calls it a craft. Some kind of strange bell or saucer shape. Grandpa stares at it, said he doubted his eyes for a second. Sees 3 skeletal Nazi corpses through the only window. Like they'd been there forever. What the fuck k.jpg? As he stares at it, craft starts to glow. Literal blinding light. Grandpa tries to scream but apparently couldn't even hear himself. Like he was muted. Light flashes, Grandpa blacks out. Wakes up sometime later in the back of a US Army truck. Isn't even told what fucking happened. Driven out to Munich. Heavily questioned by some MPs. Is told his squad found him laying there in some dark room, completely stone-faced. Tells them about the craft. Is deemed to be a complete fucking nut. Put in a military hospital for the duration of the war until September that year. After the war, linked up with some of his old war buddies, they talk about the cave too. Say they heard weird voices, don't remember a flash though. After they found him lying there and reported where they were taken out of the cave pretty quick. Was swarmed by MPs and kept strictly off limits soon after. Grandpa apparently believed to his dying day that he saw some weird UFO or time travel device down there. Couldn't find any other explanation for what he saw. Honestly, I think it's just a tall one he pulled on my dad since he used to love hearing his wartime stories, but it still makes me wonder.
Visiting the Rents Labor Day weekend. They live in an old as fuck Victorian house that has always been in the family. The first of my ancestors to live in that house had twin girls. One died of tuberculosis at the age of 4, and her sister died inexplicably a month later. Mom thinks the sister died of loneliness. Did I mention they both died in that house? Anyway, while visiting I sleep in the guest bedroom because when I moved out Mom started using my old room for storage. There are some antiques for decoration in the guest room, one of which is an old ass music box that has a pic of a little girl playing on it. Lay down in bed that night, get comfy, and then the music box starts playing really slowly. There was that moment of confusion where I was checking my phone and shit before I realized where the music was coming from. I nope the fuck out of there, go downstairs, turn on all the lights, and eventually get some sleep on the living room couch. I tell my parents about it in the morning, but they just laugh it off. I've experienced a few weird things in that house, but the incident with the music box was definitely the most unsettling. I'll text my mom to send a pic of the music box and post it when she gets back to me. B 2011, working nights at fitness center, closing up at around 12 a.m. Lights off, doors locked, old as fuck building, creepy as all hell, turning off the lights on one side of the building, getting ready to leave, backpack on my back, walking in near pitch blackness, suddenly grabbed from behind, literally jerked backward as I'm walking, nope. PSD, somehow remain calm and look over my shoulder. My backpack had caught on a coat hook on a pillar in the middle of the room. MFW, I soiled my pants over a coat hook. Still got out of there as quick as I could. Didn't want to be in the building any longer than I needed to at night. The building itself was built in 1912 and there were stories of a man who killed his wife in it. I always got a creepy vibe there.
Be about 15, maybe younger, at Grandma's house. Feel safe, as usual. Comfortable. Grew up here. Grandpa was a drunk. Said he saw ghosts our night. We blamed his drinking. Late one night, me and my cousin were sleeping over. In the living room, she was on one couch, I was on another. Had a lamp on, she was asleep and I was reading. It was a long ass book. Almost done, I was finally getting sleepy. Got cozy, and as usual, right before I passed out, I had to take a piss, got up. And left all the lights off. Don't want to wake my cousin. Don't need lights. Know this place like the back of my hand. The bathroom is halfway down a hallway. Do my do, and get out, turn off the light and walk down hallway. Everyone is asleep. At the end of the hallway is a mirror. It's at eye level. Always look at myself as I pass it, human nature and shit. I push my hair behind my ear and my eyes dart to my left. In the reflection I see a girl. My height. Long black hair cover most of her face. I react. I swing my arm, as if to hit her. My arm goes through her and she turns and runs through the door of my uncle's room. I am horrified. Run to my cousin. Wake the fuck up, tell her what happened. She tells me to calm down. Maybe I was just seeing things, goes back to reading. Look down at page number 666. Finish page and push book aside. Fuck this shit. Told all of my family the next day. Maybe Grandpa wasn't drunk. Lol. Everyone just jokes about it. I swear I saw what I saw. You believe me, right, X?
My mother and her friends were all really close, and since they all had kids much younger than me, I was often employed to be their big brother / babysitter on summer days when their parents were at work. Anyways, I have a few notes from a particular kid I babysat. Story, 1/3. B12. First day looking after kid, I'll call him Bobby. Bobby's parents worked from 8 a.m. all the way until 10 fucking p.m. but they were rich, so I didn't mind getting paid every day for chilling with a little kid. Hang out with Bobby though the day, his parents had a swimming pool, so we'd often just swim all day and play GameCube when we got tired. Around 8 p.m., I have to heat up the dinner Bobby's parents cooked for him. Finish heating up Bobby's food and I call him. No answer. Look around the house for Bobby, and then I hear some muffled footsteps upstairs, like a kid with socks walking heavily. Go up to Bobby's room, calling him, telling him that foot's ready. Get to his room, it's pitch black, and see him sleeping. Lolernotfooling.jpg. I'm jokingly saying, oh, looks like Bobby is asleep. I wonder who in the world was making all that noise up here. I walk towards Bobby when something moves from the corner not even half a meter away from me. I can feel whatever the fuck it is moving, it makes me arm hair tingle. Thing moves from the corner towards the window. I freak out and yell, what the fuck? Bobby wakes up and is groggy. You said a bad word. I check the window. It's locked. Look outside. Nothing. It's just my imagination. I probably just saw my own shadow moving. Whatever. So a few weeks into the babysitting thing, the other parents started leaving their kids at Bobby's house, and I was less on edge since there were more people in the house to keep me company. The babysitting job also tripled in pay, so I quickly put the first experience out of my mind. Story, 2/3. There are 5 kids that I have to look after now, but fortunately they're all entertained by the pool. I had to save one of them from the deep end, but they were pretty much well behaved. The kids were horseplaying a lot on this particular day, and they broke a glass. I get pissed and make them get out of the pool. I tell them that if they help me clean up the mess, I'll take the blame for the glass. No broom outside, have to go in to get one. Get inside the house, no broom anywhere. Shitloads of Swift FERS, but no functional broom. Look around the garage and find the broom. Start heading back, lock up the garage when I see a person standing in the kitchen looking at me. WTF, stranger danger. I'm winded, like I can't say anything out of sheer terror. This guy looks like he's going to feed my anus to me. Oh shit, the kids. I try to book it to the door when he starts running towards me. Make it out, and I'm panting like a madman. The kids are all freaked out too. I ask them if the creepy man touched them or spoke to them. Some of them are crying. I try to get them to calm down and talk to me. I call 911, cops come and don't find anything in the house. No trace of the creepy dude. I'm rattled, and the parents come home early to get the kids. I tell Bobby's parents about the first night I looked after him, and they understand. His parents are as rattled to hear about my experience as I was, but I think they were dismissing my story as me just making up something to make sense of the experience. Parents still trust me and ask if I can look after the kids at my house. Okay, I'm much more comfortable with that. Whoops, I fell asleep. Sorry. Continued story, 2/3. So the kids are a bit more mellow with me and they don't get rambunctious with me anymore. One of the kids I'm looking after, I'll call her Lily, who was there when the stranger danger happened, talks to me about it. She starts immediately shaking and crying once we get on the topic of the other day. She asks me if the police ever caught the stranger. I tell her no, and ask her if the stranger truly didn't touch anyone before he let himself in the house. No, but he was really scary, was the first thing she said before she started really crying and couldn't talk. Calm her down and ask her what he did that scared them. She tells me that he came out of the water but wasn't a person when he did it. Huh? She says that they were all on the patio chairs when the guy just walked right out of the water and he was like the monsters from Sailor Moon. Weird. I'm rattled and I need to confirm it with the other kids. All of them confirm her story. The guy came out of the swimming pool, but their parents didn't believe them. Their parents believed me though, and I don't remember the guy being wet when I saw him. I finally talked to Bobby and he's more reluctant to share. Bobby tells me the man from the pool has always been there. The man says he's a zombie. What the fuck? Bobby also tells me the man stands outside his window every Saturday night, so he prefers to sleep with his parents or in the living room watching TV. I'm just thinking, holy shit, is this kid serious? He hasn't told his parents because the man threatens him if he does. Feel bad man.jpg. I tell Bobby I'll sleep over on Saturday and keep him company. Bobby feels better and I tell his parents when they pick Bobby up. Explain to them that Bobby feels scared after the experience and that I promised to hang out with him that night. They're more than happy. So I do what any rational person does when they encounter super spooky spaghetti in their friend's house. I return to stay for the night. Night starts normally. Bobby's parents cook me the best goddamn pork chop I've ever tasted. Watch a movie with the kid and spend the night until 9 playing GameCube with him. So it's 9, his parents tell us to go to bed, but Bobby is on edge. I'm at the base of his bed under the window, and I'm wide awake. I keep assuring him everything is alright so far and that I'll go to sleep after him. Sitting up and looking outside, it's a nice night, I can see some stars. I eventually hear Bobby snoring, so I take it it's safe enough to sleep. Get up to close the curtains and I see a human-shaped figure at the farthest end of the pool. It really stands out to the whitish concrete of the pool surroundings. Fuck no. Quickly close the curtains because I really don't want to see this shit. My guts are twisting and lurching, I'm in a cold sweat, and I feel bad about it, but I shake Bobby awake like a pussy. Ask him what the man does on Saturdays. Bobby starts whimpering, saying the man will usually try to get in through the window or from the back. We wait for a bit for what feels like an hour but is probably just minutes. The silence is cut by knocking on the window. Holy shit. Now I wonder if I locked the window. Part a tiny bit of the curtain to make sure. I catch a glimpse of what I'm guessing is the fucker's arm. It's wrinkly and brownish in color. The window's thankfully locked and we just sit in horror listening to the window lock thud against the frame. This is not happening. I quickly get Bobby out of bed and carry him over to his parents' room. IDGAF if they're fucking in there, I just need to get in and let them know. Get in, frantically tell them that there's someone trying to get into the house through Bobby's window. Call cops, cops find nothing. Continuing to finish story in next post. Sorry, forgot to add that this is story 3/3. Continued from last post. So Bobby's parents call the cops and they find nothing. There are however wet footprints leading to the glass patio door. No further prints, and the wet footprints seem to just come straight from the window. No footprints coming from the pool either. We spend the rest of the night talking to police in their living room. Police find that the window lock was damaged. Bobby's finally questioned about any history with the stranger danger. Bobby tells them about the guy who visits every Saturday. His parents are horrified, hearing these stories for the first time. Long story short, his parents sold the home that same year, but never slept there after that week. Anyways, that's the fucked up house this kid lived in. It was a really nice house, but I don't know if it was haunted or whatever. Bobby just started college and I remember he tried convincing me to try and return to the house and investigate if the new owners were experiencing the same stuff, but we never got a plan fixed.
So this happened about a year ago, doing homework or some shit on my floor, see pretty big spider crawling on book, grab another book to smash it with, look back, it's gone, look everywhere around me, nothing, continue with what I was doing, sure enough fucking spider shows up a few minutes later, this time I'm ready, slam book down as hard as possible on it, Lift up book, nothing fucking there. Look everywhere again, same result, doesn't show up rest of the night. Go to bed a couple hours later. I have a loft bed, basically a bunk bed with only the top bed, about 5a.m. Wake up for some reason. The fucking spider is on the bed near my feet. Pull my feet in and try to kill it with nearest thing to me. Grab my other blanket, smash my fist down on it with blanket wrapped around. Lift hand. It's vanished into thin air once again. Somehow get back to sleep. To this day I'm not sure if I dreamed that last part or not.
Shit, I remembered something that happened with my cousin, B9, he's 8, at his house, huge ass house in the suburbs. He doesn't like sleeping in his room despite it being huge and amazing. We fall asleep on the living room after hours of playing SNES games, wake up cause he's crying, we're at his bed, the closet door is rattling, like there's a hurricane in there, nope. He's scared shitless, I get up, pick a baseball bat and start telling it to stop if I would beat it bloody. Come eat me anteater.jpg. Literally growling at the fucking closet door till I faint back to sleep. Next morning I'm sleeping on the floor. Koos tells my aunt it's because he wet the bed and he's sorry. Asks to don't say nuttin'. 3 weeks later at school Koos tells me he can sleep now that the man in the closet doesn't come out anymore. Oh dear. Fucking ghosts messing with children or even worse than pedos and creepers.
Not an exceptionally spooky story, but it almost made me nope. Last week I had to put my dog down. He was 10, but got in some rat poison left out by idiot parents. Receive his remains. We had him cremated. After a bit of ocular leakage, I fall asleep. Sorry, but I have to add a bit of exposition here. My dog loved to sleep on either my bed or my dirty clothes. Also, he often grunted like a pig would. Not exactly, but his grunts were distinctive. Later that night, I felt something hop on my bed. Feels on the small side, somewhere around 30-ish pounds, begin to shit more bricks than a Mexican cartel, slowly reach for my Beretta 92, going down fighting.webm, as whatever approaches, I steel myself, suddenly snort. It's hard to describe in Greentext, but it was spot on for my dog. I live in INSATIABLE so no skinwalkers, call out my dog's name, snort, feel a small brush on my face, feels like a quick dog lick. The floodgates have opened. .jpg. Nothing happened after that, though I checked my bed this morning and the area where I felt the presence, it was rumpled exactly as if a small dog slept there. I miss Baby, aforementioned dog.
Just happened. Not gonna Greentext and couldn't pre-type because phone. So I was walking in a nearby woods this morning. I was looking for a spot to smoke. I know what you're thinking and it's not one of these stories. As I walked along the trail I could see a guy riding a mountain bike listening to some techno rap. Obviously not G'ing to get angered by weed. I approach him as he sits down by a tree. He pulls out a one-hitter. Jackpot. I ask him if he wants to smoke with me. He agrees and I sit back on a near tree. We begin to smoke and talk. He was kinda odd, but hey, aren't we all? I learn that his name is Roger and he is 32, 18 BTW. He works at a guitar center and likes to bike and hunt. I ask him what he likes to hunt. He just mumbles in some deep voice. Alright. We finish up smoking. Tell him I appreciate it and we parted ways. 15 minutes later. On my way back to the main trail when I hear a bike in the distance. Wonder if it's good old Roger. Lost in my thoughts when all of the sudden I hear in a soft voice, anon. It sounded as if it was taunting me. Pretty spooked. I just figured it was an audio hallucination. I have high tolerance though and we didn't smoke a lot so I was iffy. Anyway, I see a figure riding up on me. It's Roger. Something's off about him. It was either his crazed smile or the buck knife in his hand. Time slowed down as I tried to move my legs. I felt stiff. Finally I was able to dash through a dense patch of trees where he was unable to ride through. I ran home, 2 miles, never going in those woods again.
Not really a nope story, but I'll go ahead and tell it anyway cause to this day it makes me wonder. Me, around 9 or 10 years old, didn't really have friends, lived in a neighborhood filled with mostly old people. One day, a family moved in next door. Now that I think about it, I never really saw the parents. Boy my age named Michael, become best friends with him. He was pretty cool, drew badass dragons and comics. We always played in the forest and shit. However, he never came over, and constantly made excuses as to why he wouldn't. Never went over to his house either, said his parents wouldn't allow it. Pretty weird, but I didn't question it at that age. Friends with Michael for around 6 months, but one day he just vanishes, pay it no mind, go along with my life. Fast forward 8 or 9 years, talking about memories with my mom, leaving to college in a few days, bring up something about Michael, takes a moment for her to remember who I was talking about. Oh, your imaginary friend? Now that I think about it, those were some pretty weird times. You mentioned something about a family moving in next door, but that house still remains empty to this day. I remember when you would go off to wherever with him, and you always came back acting strangely, thought that was pretty fucking weird. Changed the topic and eventually had to leave to go do stuff. It's been 3 years since that, and I still feel odd thinking about it. The times I had with him seem too real, and I'm not convinced that he was an imaginary friend. Plus, I'm not the type to have one. When I think back though, it seems really weird that when Michael disappeared, I didn't even question it, nor did I miss him at all. He was a close bud, however, I have to admit that I have no evidence that he was a real person. Feels weird, man.
Be about 6 years old, living in old house, have a dream that I see myself asleep in my bed in my room. The ceiling directly above my bed suddenly becomes black as ink and takes on a liquid consistency. A head and torso emerge from the ceiling like surfacing from water. It's a skinless, bloody body, much like from the Hellraiser movies. Its mouth is open and extending, making a constant sound. The water on the ceiling begins rippling and a massive wind pours over this thing. In the ceiling, like a obscenely powerful wind, reminded me of in the outer space movies where a window breaks on the spaceship and people are sucked out into the vacuum of space. From its open mouth, the jaw unhinges and the teeth slowly lower from what I think was its esophagus. I'm watching this all completely paralyzed. Right before the jaw reaches me, I'm able to shock myself awake to where this thing instantly retracts itself into my ceiling like within a split second. I would have thought it was a dream, except a nasty black oily spot is left on my ceiling directly above my bed that was never there before. Parents are furious, think it's some kind of water leak, repair the tiling and it never happens again. No fucking clue what happened.
My mom died of a heart attack when I was 6 years old. She was only 25 and had no history of heart problems whatsoever. Nor did anyone in her family. She was a nurse. She had shown no signs at all of being ill. I remember her last night alive. I had a terrible fever, the kind you get as a child where you're puking and sick all night. I remember she put me to bed that night and I had a horrible dream that still haunts me to this day. I wake up in the middle of the night in my room. Entire room is bathed in sickly, hazy yellow light. My mom is in my doorway, bare naked, crying her eyes out. I can hear deep growls from the darkness out in the hallway, sounds like a damn lion. Mom is saying how she is sorry, she won't let it come near me. It can't come into my room if she doesn't let it. I remember she began to tie some kind of string across my open doorway and someone I knew this would protect me. I remember her telling me she had to leave now and I started crying, obviously scared shitless. She disappears down into the darkness of the hall and that's all I remember from the dream. The next morning when I wake up, there are paramedics and relatives in the house. My dad is crying his eyes out at the kitchen table, I mean absolutely screaming like a child, and this is a man who I had never seen cry before. He found mom head in their bed of a heart attack. Dad became really mean after that and turned to heavy drink. Ended up being raised by my grandparents on mom's side. Haven't seen my dad since I was 16, 24 now. Last I knew he moved to Florida and remarried and has a new family. Still have no idea what that dream meant, but it still haunts me to this day.
Be my dad. Summer 2015. Visiting his sister near Aurelia on. Working on her shitty truck, brakes I think. Everything in Ontario is rusty and shitty. Fucking road salt. In and out of garage to get tools. Goes in garage again. His dad's, my grandfather's, wallet in middle of floor. Still has ID and stuff in it. His dad died in 2007. Had been unwell and had Alzheimer's for years prior. Was in a senior's home in Vineland, like 4 hours away. Couldn't have fallen off a shelf because it was in the middle of the garage. YTF would it have been there on a shelf anyway? My dad thinks it was just him trying to say hello in some ghostly way.
Managing at my community pool. Been working there for several years and am finally put in charge. Now I'm a college student in charge of a bunch of dumb high schoolers. None of them ever do anything unless I give them a bunch of shit and force them to do things. They always leave early anytime we have to close, so I have to finish closing by myself. One day we have a night party that goes until almost 11. High schoolers all head out directly at 11. Curfew. Pool grounds are old as fuck and built really stupidly. Pool is literally one of the 2 remaining metal pools in the country. Endless leaks all the time that need to be patched. Been around since the early 60s and still has all of the documents and everything still around because nobody has heard of computers. So barbed wire fenced in pool ground in the middle of the fucking country. Nothing around except for a playground a little ways off and a baseball field or 2 nearby. Only lights have to be turned off from this old decrepit basement on the other side of the property near the chlorine tanks. Have to go down and turn these things off before closing and come back up in the pitch black. I'm basically used to doing it since it's just kind of quiet and there are fireflies and it's nice seeing the moon reflect off the pool water. Come up from turning all the lights off and start walking back to the office to get my things and figure out what is left to do before closing. Cloudy night so I don't get to see the stars or the moon. Not a single firefly or anything. Little weirded out, but my car is the only one in the parking lot and I could see any headlights coming from a mile away, so it's whatever. Head into the office and put timesheets and folders away. Start looking over the trash cans and shit, making sure they are emptied if they need to be, not that I'm even going to do anything about it. Hear what sounds like water dripping. The showers in the bathrooms are hard as fuck to turn off all the way, so they are usually left with a drip running, but I was pretty sure I handled turning them off earlier. It was whatever, so I went back into the bathroom and turned them off. Whole building is creepy as fuck at night since it's so old and weirdly built. Would have to go back to the decrepit building on the other sides of the grounds if I wanted to turn the lights back on, so I just do it in the dark. Only light is one of those glowing red exit signs. Part of the bathroom with the stalls is especially creepy because there aren't any windows or any light that reaches that part. Hear the creaking of one of the stall doors. Nope the fuck out of the bathroom and continue with other closing shit. Walk around a little more making sure there isn't any obvious trash that the pool board could yell at me for. Pool board is annoying as fuck when it comes to stuff like that, just a bunch of rich stay-at-home moms who like being in control of things. Pick up some leftover trash and some random balls that were left out. Return balls to the snack stand. I do this regularly when closing as an excuse to take free food and drinks with me when I head home. Grab a Powerade and a Reese's before heading out to grab my stuff and the keys to lock up. As I'm walking from one end of the building to the guard room, I hear fucking splashing in the pool. Basically sounds like rocks or something are being tossed into the pool. Check the parking lot again and my car is the only one there. I go into the guard room and grab my shit, mainly to get my phone to use as a flashlight. I walk around the pool deck just looking for anything, don't really announce myself, but anyone trespassing would easily see me walking around and I would see them. Literally nothing anywhere, except some more trash I don't really care about picking up. Splashing has stopped since I came out of the guard room. Do one last look over until I just leave the place. See wet footprints leading from the pool over to the grass. Don't really want to deal with any shit right now, so I don't look into it. Have had kids hop the fence before and found beer bottles left near the pool, so I figure it is probably them again. Lock up concessions and the guard room, and close the gates to each of the bathrooms. Head out the main door and turn to start locking up. There's a fucking figure out at the end of the parking lot. Our parking lot is shared for the pool, park, and baseball field. Out at the end of the parking lot is a shed where they keep the baseball stuff and it is right next to the park. The field lights stay on all night since the field caretakers come super early. The light is enough for me to see what appears to be a really large figure. This guy is literally taller than the garage doors. He is fucking staring right at me. I don't even bother locking the doors. I fucking take the keys with me and just speed walk to my car. I sneak a glance over at the guy. Still just fucking standing there, but he is turning and watching me as I move. I get in my car, start it, and start moving out of there. I see him in my rearview mirror still fucking standing in the same spot. I swear I see a huge fucking grin on his face. The parking lot has a shit design with at least 3 speed bumps before you can make it even 15 feet. After I hit the first one, I look back in the rearview mirror and I swear he is closer even though he isn't moving. Same fucking grin, same fucking position. I then notice that his dark hair is wet and dripping. This fucker was in the pool with me. I speed the fuck out of there. I don't give any fucks about the speed bumps anymore. I probably fucked up my suspension getting out of there. I just sped home, got changed and went to bed. The next morning I got woken up at like 6 in the morning by a sarcastic text from the girl who opens the pool early. Hey Anon, you forget to lock up again? Hot date or did you just get spooked being alone in the dark? Anyways, where did you leave the keys? I forgot how early she had to get up for that shit, but figured I could use more sleep so I just silenced my phone. I woke up about 3 hours later and remembered I had to go return the keys. I got dressed and headed out. When I arrived, there were 3 police cars in the parking lot. That isn't really a lot seeing as how there is nothing to do out there. I've opened before and has just 2 cars sitting next to each other in the parking lot with the officers just hanging out talking while drinking coffee. When I got out of my car, cute co-worker girl ran up to me and hugged me. She looked like she had been crying and she was shaking while hanging on me. The officers came over and asked me some questions. Did anything weird happen when you were closing? I told them about the figure and the like. Basically what I learned was the police were notified of a suspicious person being around by the baseball field groundskeeper. They came to check things out and heard a scream from the pool, so they rushed in to check on things. A 7-foot male had apparently climbed the fence into the pool area and had started yelling and jumping around while my co-worker was setting things up in the morning. He apparently wasn't attacking her, but kept getting closer to her while screaming and moving around her erratically. The police heard the screams and ran in, and at that point he literally jumped the fence in one motion and ran into the nearby woods. The fence was 7 feet tall with barbed wires. Haven't heard anything since.
Me, about 11 or 12, living with my parents, cousin and her parents in a 2-storied house near the forest, very, and I mean very, old house, lots of weird noises, creaks and light thumps. It was pretty common in that house and we all thought it was because the house was old as fuck. Cousin is like 2 years older than me. She starts taking poetry lessons from the literature teacher at school. Teacher says she's pretty good at it, so he intends to prepare her for a local poetry contest. Cousin used to read some of her work out loud and ask for opinion. One day she's reciting whatever she's prepared for the contest. Me, my parents and her parents are all sitting on the sofa, paying attention. Just as she finishes reciting her poem, I hear something upstairs. Sounds like someone had clapped 3 times. Everyone has heard that because we're all looking at each other, not saying a word. About 5 seconds later, Uncle stands up and runs upstairs to see if there's someone there. Nothing. That's one of the few nopish things that I experienced in that house. It could get fucking creepy.